Chapter 504, The Monster Continent. Chapter 504, The Monster Continent. In the early morning of the third day after Jian Wushuang woke up, Wu Yuan came to visit the young man. In the tent, little brother Wushuang, you look good. You're getting better, right? Wu Yuan stood in front of the young man. Thanks to little Yu's care, I'll make a full recovery soon, Jian Wushuang said. Huh, that's good. I've already told the other elders that you will join the guard, so we will be teammates, Wu Yuan said with a smile. Jian Wushuang also broke into a smile. Jian Wushuang had found that the people here were warm and friendly, and Wu Yuan had invited him to join the guard of Wu Yan tribe the day before yesterday. Father, elder brother Qing, who said you would go out with Uncle Dragon? Wu Yu asked while looking at his father. Yep. Wu Yuan nodded. We received news that a monster spy was in the nearby Green Hillock tribe, but they found out too late and he escaped. So, the leaders from the nearby tribes will lead their people through the surrounding area in hopes that they can find and kill him. A surge of killing intent gushed from his eyes. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was lost in thought. He had learned a bit about this world after spending 3 days in this tribe. He knew it was called the Monster Continent. This world was different from those plain worlds, such as the Divine Land and the Ancient World, because it was famous for its demonic beasts. The Monster Continent was much larger than the Divine Land. Most of the territory was occupied by demonic beasts, so there was less than 10% of the territory left for human warriors to settle in. Demonic beasts and human warriors were born to be deadly enemies. The monster groups, who possessed 90% of the territory, were more powerful than the human warriors, so they desired to destroy all the humans and conquer the entire continent, turning it into a paradise for demonic beasts. The humans tried their best to resist and even built the Monster Exterminating League. It consisted of the supreme commanders from human tribes. But, with only this amount of strength, the humans could barely guard the last 10% of the territory. The monsters realized that they were unable to overthrow the humans by brute force, so they sent numerous monster spies and planned to destroy them from the inside. These monster spies looked the same as human warriors, and only monster discriminators could tell whether they were human beings or monsters. Once a monster spy was found, human warriors would kill him without showing any mercy. Father, be careful, Wu Yu said. Don't worry, I'm powerful. After saying that, Wu Yuan left. Looking at Wu Yuan's back, Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. Wu Yuan was powerful indeed. He was at the Six-Cloud realm, which was equivalent to the level of superior lords from the Divine Land. However, human warriors from the Monster Continent were more powerful than warriors from the Divine Land. Cultivating in the Monster Continent was superior to that in the Divine Land. Furthermore, as they were born to fight demonic beasts, human warriors had a hint of demonic beast bloodlines. Therefore, human warriors were born strong and more powerful than warriors from the Divine Land. Among the lords Jian Wushuang had met so far, Black Yuan Lord's body was considered to be extremely heaven-defying, but in the Monster Continent, every lord was stronger than Black Yuan Lord. As the tribe leader, Wu Yuan's body was even more terrifying. The experts from the Divine Land are nothing when compared to the experts from the Monster Continent, Jian Wushuang thought. He also knew that the Wu Yan tribe was one of the countless ordinary tribes. There were many tribes more powerful than the Wu Yan tribe. The Wu Yan tribe had more than 10,000 clansmen. They all started cultivating at 12 years old, but they improved faster than warriors from the Divine Land. In a normal case, even the most untalented clansmen would be able to reach the primordial gold core realm. Even the ordinary ones would reach the Yinyang void realm at the age of 40 or 50. The more powerful would reach divine transcendence. Even the weakest human warriors who reached divine transcendence could make it to the pinnacle of the Saint realm. With their powerful bodies, their battle strength was stage 2 or even stage 3. Therefore, the warriors from the Monster Continent were more powerful than the Divine Land. An ordinary tribe like the Wu Yan tribe had hundreds of Saint Realm experts and 6 lords. There were countless tribes like that, so the number of such powerful experts among the entire human population was amazing. It was said that there were 33 temple masters in the Monster Exterminating League. The 33 temple masters held supreme positions among the humans. Jian Wushuang estimated that those temple masters might have broken through the cloud realm, which would make them as strong as the 3 ancestors. If that was true, it was really terrifying, because they could still be so powerful under the oppression of the demonic beasts. The sun sank and the night approached. In the tent, Jian Wushuang sat with his legs crossed as he took out a beige elixir and ate it. This vitality elixir is nice. I thought that it will take me 10 days or half a month to recover, but I will have recovered in 2 days at most because of this vitality elixir, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The vitality elixir was a superior second-grade pill. Jian Wushuang found a dozen elixirs in Marquis Nanyu's interspatial ring. He had been taking them these last few days and they were really helpful for his recovery. At this moment, an uproar rose outside the tent. What's happening? Jian Wushuang was surprised and instantly walked out. Chapter 505, A Demonic Beast. Chapter 505, A Demonic Beast. Jian Wushuang saw numerous clansmen swarm into the drill ground. Big brother Wushuang, Wu Yu said while walking over with Qing Hu. Little Yu, Qing Hu, what happened? Jian Wushuang asked with a tinge of doubt. My father caught a monster spy. They're in the drill ground now. Everyone is going to take a look, Wu Yu replied with excitement. A monster spy? Jian Wushuang was surprised and showed some interest in it. He wanted to know what the real overlords in the monster continent looked like. Go! Let's follow them. Jian Wushuang, Qing Hu, and Wu Yu headed for the drill ground. The huge drill ground was crowded with numerous clansmen. Jian Wushuang and his 2 companions elbowed their way and appeared at the front of the crowd. He is the monster spy. Jian Wushuang saw a black-haired man who was locked in an iron cage at the center of the drill ground. The black-haired man was 2 meters tall. Except for being a bit more muscular, there was no difference between this black-haired man and a human warrior. If he had not been clear about this black-haired man's identity, Jian Wushuang would be unable to recognize this black-haired man as a demonic beast. Is he really a demonic beast? Jian Wushuang could not help feeling doubt. Most of the clansmen were also astonished. They lived in the tribe and most of them had never fought with a demonic beast, so it was no wonder that they did not believe it. The black-haired man was roaring crazily inside the cage. I'm a clansman from Green Hillock tribe. Why did you arrest me? Why? Let me go. Otherwise, when our leader finds out, he will seek justice for me. The black-haired man got angry as if he felt aggrieved. You are still being tight-lipped about it even now. Wu Yuan and the other elders gathered on the platform while staring coldly at the black-haired man. Go invite Elder Water, Wu Yuan ordered. We already have. He should arrive soon, an elder replied. Okay. Wu Yuan nodded. He looked over at the black-haired man and said, Don't worry. My Wu Yen tribe is always fair. We never do any human being an injustice. If we confirm that you are not a monster spy, I'll personally send you back and even apologize to your leader. But if you're a monster spy, you'll die without a doubt. His tone was filled with killing intent. Those clansmen also wore a cold look. They had rarely met a demonic beast. However, since they were born in the monster continent, their bones had been infused with hatred towards demonic beasts. Demonic beasts and human warriors were deadly enemies. Demonic beasts desired to extinguish the humans while the latter had been fighting for more living space. If a monster spy was caught in the human territory, he would be killed without a doubt. The black-haired man, who felt himself being surrounded by killing intent, had a grim expression on his face, but he started to panic in his heart. After a while, an elder with long eyebrows, who was holding a cane, walked over. Elder Water. The clansmen present including Wu Yuan, bowed to him. After all, this elder had a high status in the Wu Yen tribe and he was the only monster discriminator in the entire tribe. Only monster discriminators were able to distinguish demonic beasts from human warriors, so even though a monster discriminator was weak, he was still respected. Elder Water, please help us, Wu Yuan said to Elder Water. Okay. Elder Water nodded slightly and looked at the black-haired man with his turbid vision. Then a strange light flashed in his eyes. Monster discriminator. The black-haired man paled because he knew he could not argue his case anymore. However, he did not feel hopeless. He started to look around and eventually fixed his eyes on Wu Yu. Instantly, he made up his mind. Boom! An overwhelming aura radiated from the black-haired man and his eyes became red. He violently slapped the iron cage. The cage was made of special materials, so it was strong enough to hold a Saint Realm human or a demonic beast. However, judging from his aura, the black-haired man had reached the Cloud Realm. Therefore, he easily broke the cage into pieces. Oh, no! Wu Yuan and other elders were shocked. A Cloud Realm demonic beast. Asshole, he had been hiding his strength and aura. Damn it! It happened so fast and it was outside of their expectations. They had received the news that the monster spy was in the Saint Realm, and they also confirm it because the black-haired man was unable to resist when they caught him, so they locked him in a cage. In a normal case, a Saint Realm human being or demonic beast would be unable to break the cage. They did not expect the black-haired man had been hiding his strength and that he was not in the Saint Realm, but a Cloud Realm demonic beast. At this moment, the black-haired man leaped toward the crowd at an amazing speed that left Wu Yuan and the other elders unable to block him in time. Hua! A blood light dashed out and moved toward where Jian Wushuang, Wu Yu, and Qing Hu stood. The only way I can survive is to hold this girl hostage. That will provide me with an opportunity to leave. The black-haired man stared at Wu Yu. Wu Yu and Qing Hu turned pale. Qing Hu immediately took out his long spear and tried to block the attack. However, a figure blocked him and Wu Yu before he was even able to make his move. That person was none other than Jian Wushuang. Chapter 506, The Divine General Arrives. Chapter 506, The Divine General Arrives. The black-haired man radiated killing intent as he stared at Wu Yu with his red eyes. He had not taken it seriously when Jian Wushuang blocked in front of Wu Yu. Get out of my way! The black-haired man growled while slapping at Jian Wushuang as if he was shooing flies. Jian Wushuang wore a flinty look as he immediately reacted. As he clenched his right hand, a mighty power flowed through his arm and gathered in his fist. Bang! A deep collision was heard and the black-haired man immediately retreated. How is this possible? The black-haired man was surprised. He could not believe that he himself, a Cloud Realm demonic beast, was defeated by a Saint Realm human warrior in a confrontation based on pure strength. He had been unable to show his full strength because of serious injuries when he was besieged in the Green Hillock tribe, but this human warrior was more seriously injured than he was. Demonic beast bastard! This roar caused the black-haired man to be filled with despair. Wu Yuan, like a furious lion, appeared beside the black-haired man and threw a punch at his head. The black-haired man was unable to resist, so his head exploded, killing him without a doubt. Wu Yuan quickly moved in front of Jian Wushuang and asked, "Little brother Wushuang, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Jian Wushuang coughed. He had gained the upper hand in that confrontation, but it had still caused his injury to worsen because the black-haired man's attack caused his blood to surge through his body. Wu Yuan said in a gravelly voice, "It was my mistake. I didn't expect that monster spy to be hiding his strength. Little brother Wushuang, you're very powerful. Even as a Saint Realm expert with serious injuries, you were able to block a Cloud Realm monster spy. You must have an amazing body." Wu Yuan could not hold back his praise. It was rare to see such a powerful body in the monster continent. Big brother Wushuang, thanks. Wu Yu looked at Jian Wushuang with gratitude. Jian Wushuang smiled. Okay, since the monster spy has been killed, everyone can leave. After Wu Yuan spoke, numerous clansmen obeyed his order and left. Qing Hu. Wu Yuan looked over at Qing Hu. You were good just now. Wu Yuan noticed that Qing Hu immediately tried to block with his long spear when the monster spy charged toward Wu Yu. It was hard for a 15-year-old teenager to have such quick and reliable reactions in a pinch. Qinghu stroked his head while grinning. Don't be too proud. The monster spy was at the Cloud Realm. Even though he was injured, you were still incapable of fighting him. If Wushuang had not come to help, you would have been killed. Qinghu lowered his head involuntarily. Alright, I don't want to blame you, but you should remember to only do what you're able to do next time. You're the strongest youth in our tribe and your father is our hero. If you die, I won't be able to give him an explanation, Wu Yuan said. Yes. Qinghu nodded. Speaking of your father, he sent a message to me not long ago. He might return in a few days, so you'll get to see him soon, Wu Yuan added. Really? Qinghu looked up with excitement. Get prepared for it. Your father seldom comes back, so this is your chance to show him what you have learned over these years, Wu Yuan said with a smile. Okay. Qinghu nodded. He was overwhelmed with excitement. Qinghu's father. Jian Wushuang was surprised. He knew that Qinghu's father was the tribe hero and a divine general of the Monster Exterminating League, who had battled with demonic beasts and only returned once every several years. A divine general from the Monster Exterminating League. It's said that only a top expert in the Cloud Realm is qualified to take up this post. I wonder how powerful he is, Jian Wushuang thought with a hint of expectation. It was still peaceful in the Wu Yan tribe. The humans were united as one and rarely had conflicts with each other. Even when there was a conflict, it would be settled peacefully, so fierce fighting between two tribes was rarely seen. After sitting on the bed all night, Jian Wushuang finally opened his eyes. My strength has reached its peak. Jian Wushuang's eyes radiated a flicker of delight. He had stayed in the monster continent for a dozen days already. Aided by his own recovery ability and vitality elixirs, he had fully recovered. Only now that his strength had made a full recovery could he be confident in doing what he wanted. Uncle Qinghua is back. Uncle Qinghua is back. A loud voice instantly shook the entire tribe. Uncle Qinghua. Qinghu's father. Jian Wushuang frowned. He immediately walked out of his tent and headed for the drill ground. Jian Wushuang saw a middle-aged man in a black suit standing in the sky, surrounded by many clansmen. The middle-aged man, with stubble on his face, was casually chatting with Wu Yuan and Qinghu. The other clansmen on the drill ground were looking at him in admiration. He was their hero. They were proud of him. Seven Cloud Realm. Jian Wushuang recognized the middle-aged man's level. As I expected, divine generals are experts over the Seven Cloud Realm, Jian Wushuang thought. A Seven Cloud Realm expert was equivalent to a marquis in the divine land. Here, human warriors had powerful bodies, so their strength was superior to warriors from the divine land when they were at the same level. Father, look at me, Qinghu said in a low voice. A long spear appeared in his hand. Then he violently stabbed at the space in front of him. The strike contained a mighty power and caused a loud air-piercing sound. Chapter 507, Bone Fusion Technique. Chapter 507, Bone Fusion Technique. The power of that attack has already reached the Saint Realm, Jian Wushuang thought privately. A hail of exclamations rose from the crowd. Qinghua's eyes lit up. Very good. When I was 16, I had only mastered level 2 of the bone fusion technique, but you're only 15 and have already reached this level. On this point, you're stronger than me. Yep, Qinghu said with somewhat pride, Dad, I'll become divine general, just like you. I will definitely be stronger than you. Huh. The group of people laughed. Okay, but seriously, leader, I have something to tell you, Qinghua said soberly. Let's talk inside, Wu Yuan replied. Then they all glided toward the tent. The clansmen also left. Little you, Qinghua just mentioned the bone fusion technique. What is it? Jian Wushuang asked. Wu Yu immediately responded, it's a body reshaping technique that our clansmen practice from childhood. It can help us improve in both body and strength. I have also practiced this technique, but I'm still weaker than Qing Hu and haven't reached level 1. Qing Hu had already succeeded at my age. A body reshaping technique that improves body and strength? Jian Wushuang was surprised and asked, "Little Yu, may I read it?" "Of course." Wu Yu nodded and pointed forward. "There it is." Jian Wushuang saw a pitch-black stone tablet standing on the edge of the drill ground. He had never noticed this stone tablet ever since he arrived here. The bone fusion technique is carved on that stone tablet? Jian Wushuang wore an odd look. He walked toward the stone tablet with Wu Yu. On the stone tablet, he saw many tightly packed small characters carved on it. The technique, bone fusion, was comprised of thousands of characters and was divided into 4 levels. A technique is exhibited here. Jian Wushuang was astonished and then asked, "Little Yu, can I practice this technique?" Its first 4 levels are widely spread throughout the monster continent. Many clansmen have cultivated this technique, so it's okay if you want to practice. Big brother Wushuang, since your body is so powerful, haven't you practiced a similar technique before? Wu Yu wondered. My father said we can only practice one technique like this. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He had a powerful body because of the heavenly creation skill and his own cultivation. He had never practiced a body reshaping technique that could improve his body strength. Actually, the heavenly creation skill, which was related to spiritual power, was only a cultivation method. I don't know whether this technique will work for me, but I have to try, Jian Wushuang thought while looking at the stone tablet. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate. He sat with his legs crossed and started to practice the first level of the bone fusion technique. Wu Yu waited by his side. Bone fusion technique was a special skill for cultivating bones. Jian Wushuang had never heard of it in the Divine Land. The practitioner's own body affected his cultivation speed. The more powerful the body was, the more easily the practitioner would improve. After a while, Jian Wushuang realized that he had reached level 1 of the bone fusion technique. So easy. Jian Wushuang smiled, but he was not surprised. His body was comparable to a superior second-grade magic weapon. Even the Cloud Realm monster spy's body was inferior to his. For his body, practicing this technique was as easy as drinking water. He began to practice level 2 of the bone fusion technique. He also succeeded in reaching level 2 with ease. Level 3 and level 4 were also as easy as pie for him. Jian Wushuang felt a change in his body. This feels great. My body is. Jian Wushuang realized that his body had become 3 times stronger than before. 3 times. Gosh. Jian Wushuang was totally stunned. He had wondered whether this technique would be helpful to him, but it gave him a big surprise after he reached level 4. How powerful he was now. I feel like I'm stronger than those Cloud Realm experts in the Divine Land, Jian Wushuang said, then sighed. He was only in the Saint Realm. Owing to the heavenly creation skill, his spiritual power was superior to other experts at the same level, but much weaker than Cloud Realm experts. However, with his spiritual power and body strength, he could fight against Cloud Realm experts. Nevertheless, he was able to fight a Cloud Realm expert by only using his body strength now. Aided by his spiritual power, he was more powerful than an ordinary Cloud Realm expert. It meant that if he, a Saint Realm expert with 7 origin marks, exerted his full strength, he could defeat a 7 Cloud Realm expert. That wasn't even counting his sword soul. It only took a short while for Jian Wushuang to reach level 4 of the bone fusion technique and improve exponentially. I know the 4th level is not the highest. Jian Wushuang stared at the characters on the stone tablet. The 4th level was not the end of bone fusion technique, but the higher levels were not carved on the stone tablet. Chapter 508, Catch Him. Chapter 508, Catch Him. Where is the rest of this technique? Jian Wushuang thought with a flicker of desire in his eyes. Since he was able to reach level 4 with ease, it would be easy for him to master level 5 and level 6. That meant he still had more room to improve his body and strength. While Jian Wushuang was absorbed in cultivation, Wu Yuan and Qing Hua were walking towards the drill ground, accompanied by many clansmen. Leader, I brought back level 5 and level 6 of the bone fusion technique. I'll carve the level 5 manual onto the stone tablet. As for level 6, it's precious, so I'll give it to you. Leader, if our clansmen master level 5, you can give them the level 6 manual, Qing Hua said. Okay, I think that's good. Wu Yuan nodded. I'll accept it. Qing Hua, we'll all benefit from the 2 manuals you brought back. Thanks. For our tribe and the entire human population, this is what I should do. Qing Hua causally waved his hand. They quickly arrived at the stone tablet, just in time to see Jian Wushuang practicing the bone fusion technique. Little brother Wushuang. Wu Yuan was astonished. He's practicing the bone fusion technique? He has a powerful body and is considered terrifying among warriors at the same level. Hasn't he already practiced a body reshaping technique? Did he just start practicing level 1? Qing Hua wore a bemused expression. Human warriors from the monster continent usually exercised from birth. When their body became strong enough, they started to practice body reshaping technique, which was usually around the age of 7. Therefore, it was odd for them to see Jian Wushuang practicing this technique at the age of 20. Leader, who is he? Qing Hua asked. He's Jian Wushuang, Wu Yuan replied. Not long ago, his tribe was exterminated by another tribe. He had been chased out by his enemy and fainted in the back of the mountain. You found him and brought him back. It's strange. Several days ago, we caught a Cloud Realm monster spy. Because of my mistake, the spy almost hurt Yuer and Qing Hu. Fortunately, he blocked the attack in time. His body is already very powerful, but he hasn't practiced a body reshaping technique? Wu Yuan frowned. Hearing this, Qing Hua's face fell. Jian Wushuang stopped his cultivation when Wu Yuan and Qing Hua noticed that Jian Wushuang had reached level 4 of the bone fusion technique. He has reached the 4th level in such a short time. It should be easy for him to reach level 5 or even level 6, but why hasn't he practiced a body reshaping technique before? Qing Hua narrowed his eyes. Catch him! Qing Hua growled. The clansmen behind him rushed forward even though they were puzzled about what was happening. Jian Wushuang, who had reached level 4, was in a celebratory mood, but as he saw clansmen dashing toward him, he was stunned. He looked over at Wu Yuan and Qing Hua. Leader Wu Yuan, you. Qing Hua. Wu Yuan frowned at Qing Hua. More and more monster spies are hiding within the human population. A monster spy was killed several days ago, but there's already another. Qing Hua stared at Jian Wushuang. Father, you mean Big Brother Wushuang is a monster spy? How is this possible? Qing Hu said while shaking his head. No. Big Brother Wushuang is a human. How could he be a demonic beast? Wu Yu cried. You 2 kids know nothing. Little you, come here quickly. Qing Hua said in a gravelly voice. Wu Yu was dragged aside by the other clansmen even though she was reluctant. Jian Wushuang was besieged by the clansmen who were holding weapons. As the divine general of the Monster Exterminating League, Qing Hua was their tribe hero, so those clansmen would not doubt his words. Wait a moment. Stop, Wu Yuan ordered. He glanced at Jian Wushuang with a hint of suspicion, but he said, Qing Hua, don't rush to a conclusion. We'd better check first. Every human warrior starts to practice a body reshaping technique in their childhood, but he has never practiced a body reshaping technique before and already has such a powerful body. If he is not a demonic beast, what is he? Qing Hua responded in an icy tone. But this is not enough to confirm he is a demonic beast, Wu Yuan said with a frown. We don't know where he comes from. Qing Hua gave the young man a flinty look and said in a low voice, Boy, you said that your tribe was destroyed by others and that you were being hunted by your enemy when you fainted at the back of the mountain. Then where are you from? Which tribe was hunting you? Although he felt aggrieved, Jian Wushuang had to admit that Qinghua had reasonable grounds. A human warrior in the monster continent would have practiced a body reshaping technique since childhood, while Jian Wushuang, who had such a powerful body, started to cultivate this technique just now. It did not make sense. Furthermore, Jian Wushuang came from the divine land, where he had no access to body reshaping techniques. He lied about his origin because he did not want anyone to know that he came from somewhere outside of the monster continent. So how could he tell them the name of his tribe and enemy? "I'm not a monster spy," Jian Wushuang said. "Don't argue for yourself," Qinghua said coldly while the other clansmen vigilantly stared at Jian Wushuang. "Go invite Elder Water." A clansman followed Wu Yuan's order and left. "Dad, Big Brother Wushuang was not a monster spy." "Definitely not." Wu Yu looked at Wu Yuan with a pathetic look. "Don't worry. Wait for Elder Water to arrive and everything will be made clear." "If he isn't, I won't do him an injustice," Wu Yuan said. Wu Yu no longer spoke. Jian Wushuang remained silent with a wry look. Elder Water quickly arrived. Chapter 509, Sparring with Qinghua. Chapter 509, Sparring with Qinghua. "Elder Water, please," Wu Yuan said modestly. Elder Water nodded slightly and looked over at Jian Wushuang. A strange light flashed in his eyes. This light contained special magic which would cause a monster spy to show its true form. All the clansmen watched nervously. Once they confirmed that Jian Wushuang was a demonic beast, they would kill him without hesitation. Obviously, Jian Wushuang was not a demonic beast. He did not change even a bit before the strange light dissipated. Elder Water let out a sigh and turned to look at Wu Yuan and Qinghua. This boy is a real human warrior, not a monster spy. Qinghu and Wu Yu felt relieved. "Father, I said Big Brother Wushuang is not a monster spy," Qinghu spoke. "That's right," Wu Yu added. Wu Yuan looked over at Jian Wushuang and said apologetically, "Little Brother Wushuang, I'm sorry for wronging you." Qinghua furrowed his eyebrows. It was out of his expectations, but after realizing he was wrong, he immediately apologized to the young man. "Wushuang, my friend, I was too rash." "Sorry," Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang glanced at Qinghua in surprise. He did not intend to blame this hero because his suspicion was reasonable. Actually, he had a good impression of this divine general. It was only with great virtue that someone would be able to correct themselves after doing something wrong. It was rare that a divine general could deign to apologize to a Saint Realm expert. "Since it's only a misunderstanding, there's no need to apologize," Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Wu Yuan and Qinghua smiled at each other and the tense atmosphere eased. "Little Brother Wushuang, why did you start practicing body reshaping technique just now?" Wu Yuan wondered. Jian Wushuang was deep in thought and did not know how to respond. He could not tell Wu Yuan that he came from another plane world. Wu Yuan noticed the young man's embarrassment and said with a smile, "Everyone has their own special circumstances and secrets. You don't have to tell us if you're reluctant." Jian Wushuang shrugged his shoulders with resignation. "Wushuang, our leader said you had a powerful body and had forced a Cloud Realm spy to retreat even before you practiced the bone fusion technique," Qinghua said in a kind voice. "Now that you've reached level 4 of the bone fusion technique, you must be even more powerful, right? I'm curious to see how strong your body is. If you don't mind, would you like to spar with me?" "Spar?" Jian Wushuang was intrigued. He had just arrived at the monster continent. Though he knew that human warriors here were more powerful than warriors at the same level from the divine land, he was not clear on how powerful they were and what to expect if he had not had a fight with them, and it just so happened that he needed an opponent to test his own strength. As a 7-Cloud Realm expert and a divine general, Qinghua was an appropriate opponent for him. "Since Master Qinghua is willing to teach me some moves, I'd like to," Jian Wushuang said. "Haha, good. Now, let's fight just using our body's strength," Qinghua responded with a smile. After all, he had reached the 7-Cloud Realm. He did not want to fight Jian Wushuang by using his cultivation of spiritual power, because he thought it would be bullying if he did. Jian Wushuang and Qinghua reappeared up in the air, standing hundreds of feet apart. Master Qinghua, be careful. Jian Wushuang reminded him. Make your move, Qinghua said confidently, with his hands still behind his back. He had reached level 5 of the bone fusion technique, so he thought that he was stronger than Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang changed into a streak of flowing light and charged forward. Jian Wushuang quickly appeared in front of the divine general, then he clenched his hands and a mighty power gathered in his fist. He only used his body strength to launch this punch at his opponent. Rumble. The strike pierced through the air, humming violently. Qinghua also threw a pure punch which contained an overwhelming power, but he only exerted 70% of strength because he was worried he might hurt the young man. The two punches collided with each other as if two huge meteors had smashed into each other. Pang! Their terrifying power pressed against each other and let out an explosive sound. Whoosh! Qinghua shot back like a cannonball. He only regained his balance after retreating 1,000 feet. How is this possible? Qinghua looked over at the young man who had not been affected by his attack. He did not expect to be forced to retreat in that confrontation. I lost ground. Qinghua felt it was unbelievable. Normally, a Saint Realm expert like this young man would be unable to deflect his attack even though he had only used 70% of his strength. However, Jian Wushuang not only parried it, he also forced his opponent to retreat. Wushuang, you're stronger than I expected. It seems that I'm not your match if I only used 70% of my strength. This time I'll use my full strength, Qinghua said solemnly. You only used 70% of your strength? It's the same for me, Jian Wushuang said and grinned. What? Qinghua was shocked. It was the truth. Jian Wushuang only exerted 70% of his strength with that initial attack. As for the result, he was not surprised. Chapter 510, Admiration. Chapter 510, Admiration. As I expected, my body is stronger than Qinghua's after I reached level 4 of the bone fusion technique, Jian Wushuang thought. Although Qinghua had reached level 5 of the bone fusion technique, Jian Wushuang already had a heaven-defying body before it was strengthened by the bone fusion technique, so he was able to fight against 7 Cloud Realm experts from the Divine Land just by using body strength after he reached level 4. Qinghua was inferior to the young man in body strength. Next, I'll use 80% of my strength, Jian Wushuang said with a gush of killing intent in his eyes. He charged forward once again. Qinghua swung his huge fist with his full strength and punched at the young man. Pang! This time, they were both forced to retreat. Come on! Jian Wushuang said with a hint of excitement in his eyes. He dashed forward and attacked with 90% of his strength. Pang! As for the third confrontation, Qinghua retreated awkwardly. That meant Jian Wushuang had the upper hand. Master Qinghua, you are unable to defeat me with only your body strength. Use your full power. Jian Wushuang spoke confidently. Use my full power? Qinghua was intrigued and nodded. Okay, be careful. A 7-cloud realm aura suddenly swept out as a black long spear appeared in the divine general's hand. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly as an overwhelming aura flowed out and radiated from him. His triple kill sword also appeared in his hand. Shwa! Shwa! 2 streaks of light flashed across the sky as they battled again. Clang! 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 The fierce confrontation caused loud booms to reverberate through the entire drill ground as violent waves of power flowed outward. It shook the entire tribe. Countless clansmen walked out of their tents to watch this fight. Uncle Qinghua is fighting with the newcomer, Jian Wushuang. How is that possible? Jian Wushuang is just a Saint Realm expert. How is he qualified to fight Uncle Qinghua? He even seems to be holding the upper hand. Master Qinghua is losing ground? Those clansmen were dumbfounded when they saw that Qin Hua was at a disadvantage even though he was using his full power. Big brother Wushuang is so powerful. My father is unable to beat him. Qin Hu grasped his long spear while staring at them. Wu Yu also widened her eyes and watched the fight. Hua! A brilliant streak of sword light rushed forward, carrying a decisive and unwavering intent. It was the second move of heart-killing sword technique, desperation. Qin Hua instantly brandished his long spear and violently stabbed towards the incoming attack. Clang! The two strikes crashed, causing an immaterial wave to flow out. Qin Hua was beaten back once again. Stop, stop, Qin Hua said with a wry smile. He withdrew his long spear and stopped fighting. Jian Wushuang followed him and landed on the ground. Wushuang, you're very powerful. You have my admiration, Qin Hua said, then sighed. Master Qin Hua, I appreciate your kindness. Jian Wushuang responded modestly, but he was delighted in his heart. He gained a lot from this fight and also had a better understanding about the strength of warriors from Monster Continent as well as his own. Human warriors from the Monster Continent really were more powerful than warriors from the Divine Land. Qin Hua was a Seven-Cloud Realm expert, but his battle strength could be compared to Marquis Zizhong, who had reached the Eight-Cloud Realm and had a Dao weapon. Although the long spear Qin Hua used was just a first-grade magic weapon, his body was stronger than Marquis Zizhong, so Qin Hua would be evenly matched with that Marquis. My body strength improved greatly after I reached level 4 of the bone fusion technique. I was able to gain ground just using my strength and swordsmanship, but there are more skills that I still haven't displayed. Jian Wushuang thought. Once he used the power of his sword soul, his strength would reach a new level, let alone his Azura secret skill, realm techniques, and the heart-killing sword. I don't need to fear battling with an Eight-Cloud Realm Divine General, even if it's a real fight, Jian Wushuang thought. Wushuang, can I talk with you alone? Qin Hua spoke. Jian Wushuang nodded even though he did not know what Qin Hua wanted to discuss. Sure. Please. Qin Hua and Jian Wushuang walked toward the tent. After entering the tent, they both sat by a long narrow table. Qin Hua waved his hand and took out some wine and fruits. Jian Wushuang poured himself a drink, then sniffed it and was about to drink. My little friend, if my guess is right, you don't belong to our monster continent, right? Qin Hua asked casually. Jian Wushuang froze and looked over at the Divine General in astonishment. Qin Hua guessed his origin so easily. Hey. Qin Hua smiled faintly. You have a powerful body, but you had not practiced a body reshaping technique before you came to our tribe, which is impossible for any human warrior from our continent. You're not a demonic beast, but you can't tell me about your circumstances. So I guess that you must have come from outside of our continent. As a divine general, Qin Hua had never been anywhere outside of the monster continent, but he had heard that there were other plane worlds out there. Chapter 511, 12 Levels of Bone Fusion. Chapter 511, 12 Levels of Bone Fusion. Only human experts from plane worlds outside of the monster continent would not have come into contact with a body reshaping technique until now, Qin Hua said. Jian Wushuang was speechless at first, but he directly admitted, yes, I did come from somewhere outside of the monster continent. Just as I thought. Qin Hua looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile and said, Wushuang, my friend, don't worry. Human warriors on the monster continent only hate demonic beasts. We won't refuse human experts from other plane worlds. They can even serve as divine generals and divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League. All human experts are welcome in the Monster Exterminating League. Oh? Jian Wushuang was surprised and asked, are there experts from other plane worlds who are divine generals and divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League? Yes. Qin Hua said, those experts aim for the League's holy place. If they want to obtain benefits from the holy place, they have to make corresponding contributions to the League, which includes killing demonic beasts. That's why they serve as divine generals or divine emperors. Oh? Jian Wushuang secretly nodded. Wushuang, aren't you also aiming for the holy place? Qinghua asked in doubts. I came here by accident. But, now I'm quite interested in the League's holy place, Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. The holy place is open to all human experts. But you have to become a divine general of the League first. Qinghua looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile and said, even though you're only in the Saint Realm, you're stronger than me and definitely qualified to become a divine general. May I ask what the requirements are? Jian Wushuang asked. It's very simple. As long as you are strong enough to pass the assessment, it won't be a problem for you, Qinghua laughed. I'll be staying in the tribe for a month. If you're not in a hurry, you can wait and go with me when I leave. How about it? Thank you, Mr. Qinghua, Jian Wushuang said. He had only just arrived on the monster continent recently and had very little knowledge regarding anything here. It would be better if he could obtain some information from Qinghua. By the way, Qinghua said, I saw how easily you cultivated the 4th level of the bone fusion technique. I guess it won't be difficult for you to cultivate the 5th or 6th level. I brought them back with me this time. Do you want to read them? Qinghua took out 2 jade slips. They had the 5th and 6th level of the bone fusion technique recorded on them. Seeing the jade slips, a happy expression appeared on Jian Wushuang's face. After having contact with the bone fusion technique, Jian Wushuang was extremely eager to continue practicing it. It had an immeasurable effect on his physical strength. With just the initial 4 levels, his strength had already soared to a level several times higher, and his strong body made him qualified to cultivate higher levels of the bone fusion technique. He definitely yearned for the 5th and 6th levels of the bone fusion technique. Thank you so much, Mr. Qinghua, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. Since we're both human beings, there is no need to be so polite, Qinghua said and smiled. By the way, don't call me Mr. Qinghua. You're even stronger than me, so just call me Qinghua. Jian Wushuang responded with a smile. He had discovered that Qinghua and Wu Yuan, as well as all the clansmen in the Wu Yan tribe, hated the demonic beasts, but they were very friendly and enthusiastic to other human beings and treated them like brothers. Qinghua, do you know who created the bone fusion technique and how many levels there are? Jian Wushuang asked. I don't know who created it. No one seems to know. I only know that it has been spread throughout the monster continent since long ago. More than 90% of the human warriors on the continent cultivate it to improve their physical strength. As for its levels, as far as I know, the bone fusion technique is divided into 3 volumes and each volume contains 4 levels, so there are 12 levels altogether, Qinghua said. 12 levels? Jian Wushuang was shocked. The initial 4 levels of the bone fusion technique had already benefited him greatly, but there were a total of 12 levels. How strong of a body would he attain after cultivating all 12 levels? However, it's impossible to cultivate all 12 levels. Or, at least, no human on the monster continent has ever succeeded. Even the strongest person has only cultivated the 11th level and is regarded as the top human warrior. Only a few human warriors have cultivated the 10th level in the history of monster continent, Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang was not surprised to hear it. The more powerful the technique was, the more difficult it was to cultivate. The bone fusion technique was definitely an incredible one and had high requirements on the body's foundation. It was naturally difficult to cultivate all 12 levels. I have another technique which should also be useful to you, Qinghua said while taking out another jade slip. This is... Jian Wushuang was puzzled. This is a technique dedicated to concealing one's aura, Qinghua explained. Aura concealing technique. Jian Wushuang's face changed slightly as he quickly understood. I obtained this technique by chance. It can completely conceal a warrior's spiritual power aura. No one will know your strength unless he's much stronger than you. Qinghua said, after all, you're only at the Saint Realm. It'll be too noticeable if you participate in the Divine General Assessment like this. With this technique, no one will know your realm. Oh? Jian Wushuang slightly nodded. Divine generals in the Monster Exterminating League were usually Cloud Realm experts. It would indeed be noticeable if he became a Divine General as a Saint Realm expert. Thank you so much, Jian Wushuang expressed his gratitude again. You have a month to prepare. After that, we'll set off, Qinghua said and then laughed. Jian Wushuang nodded, then he shared several drinks with Qinghua while asking him questions about the monster continent. He stayed there until dusk. Chapter 512, Heaven Wing City. Chapter 512, Heaven Wing City. That night, the bright moonlight spread like water, slightly illuminating the ground. Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged on the ground with his bare upper body. He slightly closed his eyes and felt the strange energy flowing through his body. His dark and strong muscles were also slowly wriggling. Suddenly, a burst of sound emanated from his body as his skin immediately became covered with sweat and a wild aura suddenly radiated from him. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes. Bone fusion technique, the 6th level, I've succeeded. At this moment, Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled with surprise and joy. He had easily succeeded in cultivating the 4th level of the bone fusion technique, and his cultivation for the 5th and 6th level was not difficult either. His physical strength soared every time he cultivated a new level. After cultivating the 6th level, his physical strength had been enhanced to a new level once again. My current physical strength has at least doubled compared to when I battled with Qinghua, Jian Wushuang thought. It was already very amazing. He had been able to fight a 7-Cloud Realm expert by virtue of his physical strength. Since he had improved his physical strength 2 more levels now, his power would be even more incredible. This is only the 6th level. What if I cultivated all 12 levels of the bone fusion technique? Jian Wushuang wondered. He was full of curiosity towards the creator of the bone fusion technique. How amazing was this expert who created such an amazing body reshaping technique? No matter who he was definitely a supreme expert, he thought. The higher levels of the technique were only available to those who joined the Monster Exterminating League. Therefore, whether the holy place existed or not, Jian Wushuang still had to become a divine general in the league so he would have access to the higher levels of the bone fusion technique. A month, Jian Wushuang murmured. A month was not a short amount of time for him. He would not waste it. He stayed in the Wu Yan tribe to meditate quietly on the slaughter occult from the restriction in the 6-story pagoda. Meanwhile, he used the world scroll to meditate on the world origin. His original body and doppelganger were working on comprehending the 2 different origins simultaneously, yet independently. In this way, he would yield twice the results. The aura concealing technique, aura restraint, was indeed delicate. It took him several days to comprehend it and learn to completely restrain his Saint Realm aura. Now that he had concealed his aura, other experts could not see through his strength, unless they were supreme experts, like the 3 ancestors, who were far beyond him. However, those kind of experts were too rare. A month passed in the blink of an eye. He had improved his comprehension of the slaughter origin during this period, but he was still a step away from condensing the 8th origin mark. On the other side, he had made great progress in comprehending the world origin and had condensed the 6th origin mark. He was quite satisfied with his performance. The only thing that he was unsatisfied with was his level of cultivation. Even though he had been at the Saint Realm, Venerable Master, for a long time, he still could not feel any signs of a breakthrough. It might be a long time before he entered the Cloud Realm. In the early morning, a large number of clansmen gathered on the drill ground of the Wu Yan tribe. They came to see Qinghua and Jian Wushuang off. Father, Qinghu stood next to Qinghua, reluctant to see him leave. Big brother Wushuang, kill a lot of demonic beasts, Wu Yu said to Jian Wushuang. Uncle Qinghua, remember to kill even more demonic beasts. It would be best if you could kill all those damn demonic beasts. Brother Wushuang, take care of yourself and Uncle Qinghua. While being accompanied by the clansmen, Jian Wushuang and Qinghua arrived at the entrance gate of the tribe. He was touched by their warmth and enthusiasm. Wushuang, let's go, Qinghua said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded, then they left the tribe. Several days later, they arrived before a giant city. A city? Jian Wushuang looked at it. On the journey, he had passed by large and small tribes, but he had yet to see any cities on the monster continent. This city was much larger than any city he knew of in the Divine Land. This is Heaven Wings City, one of the 8 cities of the human population on Monster Continent. Qinghua looked at Jian Wushuang and explained, the human population has 8 cities like this one. The tribes come here to exchange goods, and each city has a saint castle. If you want to be a divine general, you must go there for the assessment. Oh? Jian Wushuang slightly nodded. The Monster Exterminating League has set a rule. Flying is forbidden in the holy place and the 8 cities, as is fighting. We have to queue up to enter the city, Qinghua said. They went to the front gate where a large number of human warriors from various tribes were queued up. Jian Wushuang and Qinghua also stood in the long queue. Flying is forbidden as well as fighting? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. No one dares to violate the rules set by the League. Of course, if you have the opportunity to become a divine emperor in the future, you don't have to follow these rules. Experts, like divine emperors, have certain privileges, said Qinghua. Divine emperor? Jian Wushuang was intrigued by these words. He had heard about the divine emperors from Qinghua before. In the Monster Exterminating League, where all high-level human warriors of the monster continent gathered, divine generals were the most common and were generally 7-Cloud Realm experts. There were numerous 7-Cloud Realm experts on the monster continent. Therefore, there were countless divine generals in the Monster Exterminating League. Above the divine generals were divine emperors. According to Qinghua's description, divine emperors had entered the Tao. If they were in the divine land, they would be as strong as the 9 sovereigns, or maybe even stronger. However, there were 108 divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League. In addition, there were many other experts who were qualified to be divine emperors in the league. Compared with the Monster Exterminating League, the Divine Land, where Jian Wushuang had just come from, was indeed much weaker. Chapter 513, Saint Castle. Chapter 513, Saint Castle. Inside Heaven Wing City. Jian Wushuang walked with Qinghua on the wide street while looking around at the huge buildings. They were ancient and splendid, as delicate as sculptures. The streets were crowded with people. What a busy city, Jian Wushuang said. Even though humans only occupy less than 10% of the territory on the monster continent, it's still very vast and the number of tribes and warriors is quite astonishing. All the tribes come to the 8 cities to exchange goods. As one of those cities, Heaven Wing City is naturally lively, Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang nodded in agreement. Before long, he noticed an ancient purple castle, which was about 100 meters tall, at the end of the street. It was so humongous that it was extremely eye-catching among buildings in Heaven Wing City. That's Saint Castle, also known as Monster Exterminating Castle. If you want to be a divine general, you have to accept the assessment there, Qinghua said. Let's go, Jian Wushuang said. He headed towards Saint Castle with Qinghua and they quickly arrived at the entrance. After climbing the stairs, they stepped into the hall. So quiet, Jian Wushuang whispered. The hall was very empty. The dozens of people in this empty hall made it more sparse. It was completely the opposite of the busy streets. People here are either divine generals or applicants trying to become a divine general. Of course, it wouldn't be crowded here, Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang nodded and noticed the application counter. A blue-haired beauty sat behind the counter, in front of a shelf that was filled with bottles of wine. Shadow, give me a bottle of lion liver wine, Qinghua came to the counter and said directly. She raised her head and then gave him a bottle of wine, then she said, 10,000 raw gems. We're old friends. Why do you still charge me so much? Qinghua muttered but still took out the raw gems. Qinghua, who is he? The blue-haired beauty looked toward Jian Wushuang and asked. He's a little brother from my tribe. He came here to participate in the Divine General Assessment, Qinghua said. Shadow, please help him register. The Divine General Assessment? The blue-haired beauty nodded and asked, what's your name? Which tribe are you from? Jian Wushuang from the Wu Yen tribe, Jian Wushuang answered. The blue-haired beauty recorded his name on a list and said, you're lucky. There is a Divine General Assessment about to take place right now. Wait a moment, I'll make the arrangement for you immediately. Thank you, Jian Wushuang said. You're fortunate. The Divine General Assessment is held every 10 days. You came at the right time, Qinghua said and laughed. The blue-haired beauty immediately left to make the arrangements. A moment later, she returned with a white-haired elder. The white-haired elder looked at Jian Wushuang without saying anything, but a strange light flashed in his eyes. Jian Wushuang had seen this strange light before. He knew that it was the monster discriminator's special method. Wushuang, all the applicants for Divine General Assessment are tested. It's to prevent monster spies from sneaking into the team. Don't worry, Qinghua explained. I understand, Jian Wushuang said and nodded. The strange light in the white-haired elder's eyes lasted for a while. As Jian Wushuang had no reaction at all, it gradually dissipated. Come with me, said the white-haired elder, then he went straight to the inner layer of the castle. Go. I'll wait for you outside, Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang followed the white-haired elder without hesitation. It didn't take long for him to arrive at an open space in the inner layer, where lots of people were waiting. These men and women were all warriors, and they all possessed a powerful aura. When Jian Wushuang arrived, they only cast a casual glance at him and then looked away. They all came here to accept the assessment, Jian Wushuang muttered. There were over 30 warriors. Among them, several warriors had an extremely strong aura. In particular, a red-haired young man that was standing on the edge of the open space attracted his attention. This young man carried a saber on his back and stood there with his devilish eyes slightly closed. The arrogant expression on his face showed that he was not paying attention to anyone present. He should be at the 8-Cloud Realm? Jian Wushuang thought in surprise. A 7-Cloud Realm human warrior with a strong body was enough to be a divine general. An 8-Cloud Realm warrior would be regarded as excellent among the divine generals. Therefore, it was common for the 7-Cloud Realm warriors to participate in the assessment, but it was rare for 8-Cloud Realm warriors. Just then, a purple-robed middle-aged man, flanked by a couple of people, walked toward them. He held a list in his hand which recorded these applicants' information. After standing in front of them, he looked around. Listen well. The assessment is very simple. Walk along this tunnel until you reach the huge gladiator arena in the innermost part of the castle. Once you step into it, your opponent will naturally appear in front of you. What you need to do is to use your full strength against him. Whether you pass the assessment or not depends on your performance in the gladiator arena. That is to say, the better you perform in the gladiator arena, the more likely you are to become a divine general. The purple-robed man stopped and watched their reactions. His words caused a stir among the applicants, but they quickly quieted down and accepted it calmly. By the way, Emperor Fengshao, one of the 108 divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League, happens to be in the castle. He'll be watching your battles at the gladiator arena. It's a good opportunity for you, the purple-robed man said. Emperor Fengshao? The famous Emperor Fengshao from the Monster Exterminating League? He's in the castle and will watch our assessment. Oh, if Emperor Fengshao appreciates my performance and chooses me as a disciple, then I would be very lucky. Everyone became excited. Even the arrogant red-haired young man on the edge of the open space changed his expression. Chapter 514, The Assessment. Chapter 514, The Assessment. I heard from my father that Emperor Fengshao has a high rank among the 108 divine emperors. He's at the peak and he's even stronger than my father. It's definitely a great opportunity. I might become the disciple of such a powerful divine emperor. Thinking of this, the red-haired young man clenched his fists tightly as a flash of burning desire appeared in his eyes. Among all the experts, Only Jian Wushuang remained calm. Since he had just arrived on the monster continent, he had never heard of Emperor Fengxiao. However, since the latter was one of the 108 divine emperors, he must have entered the Dao and would definitely overpower Jian Wushuang. Anyway, I'll call your names one by one according to the application order, the purple-robed man said as he took out the list. The first one, Heatsong. Heatsong immediately stepped forward and entered the tunnel on the side, then headed directly towards the gladiator arena. The rest waited quietly in the open space. After a while, they heard loud roaring sounds from the gladiator arena. The extremely fierce sounds indicated that Heatsong was in a tough battle. It didn't take long for Heatsong to return along the tunnel and reappear in front of them. He was wounded and his furrowed eyebrows revealed an obvious trace of sorrow. He was apparently worried about whether he would pass the assessment. The result would not be announced until everyone finished the assessment, so he had to wait quietly. Next, the purple-robed middle-aged man called the second expert's name. The experts stepped into the gladiator arena one after another after traveling to the end of the tunnel. It wasn't long until the name of the red-haired young man who stood on the edge of the open space was called. Jean Ling, the middle-aged man, called out. The red-haired young man walked to the gladiator arena. He created a larger disturbance in the gladiator arena, and also stayed in there longer. After a quarter of an hour or so, he returned to the open space. With the arrogant expression still on his face, he looked around at the crowd with a hint of disdain. He must be extremely confident of his strength, Jian Wushuang muttered. Several more experts entered gladiator arena before Jian Wushuang's name was finally called. The last one, Jian Wushuang, the purple-robed middle-aged man said. Jian Wushuang immediately walked towards the gladiator arena at the end of the tunnel. A moment later, he finally arrived at the gladiator arena. The huge gladiator arena was encircled by a restriction, with rows of stands around it, but no one seemed to be watching. I wonder who my opponent is, Jian Wushuang thought. Suddenly, 3 giant beasts slowly walked out from 3 tunnels near the edge of the gladiator arena. There. Demonic beasts? Jian Wushuang observed the 3 giant beasts in surprise. They were all 3-meter-tall demonic apes with 4 arms. No. They have no vitality. Are they puppet fighters? Demonic beast puppet fighters? Jian Wushuang was stunned. In the Divine Land, he had seen a lot of puppet fighters, but they were human-like. He had never seen demonic beast puppet fighters before. My opponents are these 3 demonic beast puppet fighters? Jian Wushuang thought with a serious expression on his face. The 3 demonic beast puppet fighters encircled Jian Wushuang in a triangle shape and then directly began to attack him. Howl! They roared simultaneously and then trod the ground heavily, causing the ground to tremble violently. Fortunately, the ground was paved with extremely hard stone slates, which were not easily cracked. Who? 3 strong wind-breaking sound came from each side. The 12 fists of the 3 puppet fighters were tightly clenched and punched Jian Wushuang like landslides and tsunami. Jian Wushuang felt like he was surrounded by fists in all directions. He immediately moved, leaving behind a residual shadow as he bounced towards the puppet fighters in a flexible manner. He then punched one of the puppet fighters with his tightly clenched right fist. He used the full extent of his physical strength, striking the puppet fighter with a fierce blow that seemed almost like a meteorite. Bang! The puppet fighter was immediately knocked back, slamming into the stone wall at the edge of the gladiator arena and causing a violent impact. Get out! Jian Wushuang then punched the other 2 puppet fighters and knocked them backwards without effort as well. In a blink of an eye, he had defeated the 3 demonic beast puppet fighters. They're not very strong, Jian Wushuang thought. He could tell that the 3 puppet fighters were equal to superior lords with a stronger body. They were comparable to Wu Yuan, the leader of the Wu Yen tribe. It should not be difficult for any 7-Cloud Realm human warrior to defeat them. The assessment shouldn't be so simple, he thought. As he expected, after the 3 defeated puppet fighters left the gladiator arena, a brand new puppet fighter immediately stood in front of him. It was over 2 meters high, but it was shorter than the demonic ape puppet fighters and much stronger. It had a lion head, greenish-black scales that covered its body, and a 3-meter-long tail, which was also covered with scales. Is this the original look of the demonic beast? Jian Wushuang looked at it with a curious expression. He had only seen spirit beasts in the divine land, which were totally different from the demonic beasts in the monster continent. The demonic beasts carried some human characteristics to a certain extent. The demonic lion puppet fighter also began to attack. It was much stronger than the 3 puppet fighter, and its speed was quite astonishing. Jian Wushuang only caught a flash of a greenish-black spectral image. The next moment, he heard a harsh explosion in front of him as the puppet fighter split the air, slashing towards him with its sharp claws while opening its big mouth. Howl! A roar, accompanied by a strong sound wave, stormed toward Jian Wushuang. Chapter 515 Emperor Fengxiao. Chapter 515 Emperor Fengxiao. A sound wave attack. Jian Wushuang sneered. It was not the first time he had encountered a sound wave attack. He had already made preparations against this type of technique, not to mention that he was physically stronger than he used to be by far. The sound wave attack of the demonic lion puppet fighter had little effect on him. He clenched his right fist and launched a punch. His violent physical power exploded like a volcano waking up after being dormant for a long time. Bang! He had an absolute advantage in brute force, so the demonic lion puppet fighter was forced to retreat. However, its long greenish-black tail appeared near Jian Wushuang's side, catching him off guard. The tail swept directly toward his head like a sharp saber. What a move! A bit of surprise flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. He waved his arm casually and parried the tail. Chi! 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 The metallic sound of several collisions reverberated through the area again and again. The puppet fighter's tail was knocked away, only leaving behind some white marks on his arm. Well? A sigh of surprise came from outside of the gladiator arena. In one row of stands at the top of the gladiator arena, sat a handsome long-haired man in a green robe. Until just now, he had been completely indifferent while watching the other applicants fight with the demonic beast puppet fighters. But, just now, when he saw how Jian Wushuang struck the puppet fighter's tail away, he was a little surprised. What a strong body! He has only cultivated up to the 6th level of the bone fusion technique, but his body is stronger than those who have cultivated the 7th or even the 8th level. The long-haired man nodded and glanced at the red-robed woman standing next to him and asked, "Who is he?" "Your Highness, he's Jian Wushuang from the Wu Yan tribe," the red-robed woman replied respectfully. After all, this man was Emperor Fengxiao, who possessed great power within the Monster Exterminating League and stood at the peak among the humans on the monster continent. Emperor Fengxiao ranked second among the 108 divine emperors. Among the human population, he was estimated to only be weaker than the 33 superior temple masters from the Monster Exterminating League. Jian Wushuang. Emperor Fengxiao nodded slightly, remembering the name. Jian Wushuang can defeat the demonic lion puppet fighter easily by virtue of his strong body. It's quite likely that he'll also pass the 3rd round, Emperor Fengxiao said. If he can pass the 3rd round, he'll be a 2nd-grade divine general. So far, only Jin Ling has passed the 3rd round among these applicants, the red-robed woman said carefully. Jin Ling. He's different, Emperor Fengxiao shook his head. I know Jin Ling. He always stays with his father, and his father has helped him a lot with his cultivation and even improved his physical strength using lots of treasures. It's normal for him to pass the 3rd round. Jian Wushuang comes from an ordinary tribe. Since he can make it this far without any background, he is much stronger than Jin Ling. After he becomes a divine general and cultivates for a period of time in the holy place, he'll make greater progress. Maybe our side will have another divine emperor several years from now. Divine emperor? The woman glanced at Jian Wushuang in surprise. She had not expected that Emperor Fengxiao would give Jian Wushuang such a high evaluation. Just look, Emperor Fengxiao stopped talking and continued to watch. As Emperor Fengxiao expected, Jian Wushuang did not exert himself to defeat the demonic lion puppet fighter in the second round. He easily defeated it without drawing his sword. The puppet fighter of the third round appeared immediately. It was comparable to an Eight-Cloud Realm expert and even stronger than Marquis Zizhong, who Jian Wushuang had fought in the Divine Land. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang was also stronger than he used to be after cultivating the bone fusion technique and improving his physical strength to a great extent. In front of this puppet fighter, Jian Wushuang finally drew his sword and used his spiritual power to defeat it. The demonic beast puppet fighter of the fourth round showed up. It looked exactly the same as the demonic apes in the first round. It even had 4 arms, but it was much stronger. Few second-grade divine generals can compete with the demonic ape puppet fighter in the fourth round. I wonder how long he can hold out. Emperor Fengxiao watched the fight attentively. Jian Wushuang began to attack the demonic ape puppet fighter. Whoosh! The triple-kill sword carried a decisive and unwavering intent as he attacked with the second move of the heart-killing sword technique. A sword shadow burst out, like sharp bolt of lightning, roaring as it stabbed forward. The puppet fighter waved its 4 arms violently and clenched a fist, releasing a punch towards Jian Wushuang's triple-kill sword. Bang! The triple-kill sword was deflected to the side as the puppet fighter directly strode forward and violently punched at Jian Wushuang with its other 3 arms. Jian Wushuang retreated in a hurry and swung his sword to parry the incoming attacks. However, he still suffered a blow on his chest from the puppet fighter's fist. Jian Wushuang groaned painfully and tried to calm down his turbulent aura. How powerful! It's even stronger than me. A hint of excitement flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. It seems that I will have to use some of my trump cards. Bang! 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 The puppet fighter trod forward heavily and then pounced on him. He immediately retreated while simultaneously waving his hand. A giant tumbling blood river rushed out, accompanied by surging waves of invisible sword essence that spread out around Jian Wushuang. He had superimposed road to the underworld and the hundredfold realm. As for the blood fire domain in the blood fire ring, it was too weak to be of use to Jian Wushuang now. Due to the oppression of the domain, the puppet fighter's speed and strength were greatly restrained. Jian Wushuang stopped retreating and raised his triple-kill sword, which gave off a dazzling light at this moment. Chapter 516, Second Grade Divine General. Chapter 516, Second Grade Divine General. He brandished his sword. A poignant sword stroke emerged. Beautiful and enchanting. It was the third move of heart-killing sword technique, Enchant. The sword light even enthralled Emperor Fengxiao and the red-robed woman who were outside the gladiator arena. That move, a hint of surprise flashed in Emperor Fengxiao's eyes. It was a poignant sword move, intoxicating, powerful and occult. Seeing this, Emperor Fengxiao was stunned, feeling like he had been struck by an electric shock. He was good at sword principle and believed that few in the monster continent could be his rivals. But the sword move Jian Wushuang unleashed just now had touched him. Yes, it touched him. Emperor Fengxiao closed his eyes and replayed the move in his mind. A sword move which he hadn't understood for years suddenly became clear. All of a sudden. That's it. I have been walking on the wrong path. Emperor Fengxiao murmured, then opened his surprised eyes. He mastered such a unique sword skill. Emperor Fengxiao looked at Jian Wushuang. He didn't know that heart-killing sword technique was created by Sword Ancestor, which was also Sword Ancestor's best sword skill. Though he was strong in sword principle, he was much weaker compared with Sword Ancestor. Therefore, it was normal that Sword Ancestor's best sword skill would touch him. I should thank him. Emperor Fengxiao took an earnest look at Jian Wushuang. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had defeated the demonic ape puppet fighter with realm suppression and the third move of heart-killing sword technique. The fourth level, passed. He should be able to pass it. The red-robed woman opened her eyes wide with a shocked face. She didn't study sword principle and had no idea how special the move was. What shocked her was that Jian Wushuang had passed the 4th level. It should be known that those who passed the 4th level were at the peak even among second-grade divine generals. Top second-grade divine generals were ranked only second to the divine emperor. In the gladiator arena, the demonic beast puppet fighter of the 5th level appeared. When Jian Wushuang fought with the demonic beast puppet fighter, he found that it was stronger by at least 2 levels than the demonic ape puppet fighter, whether in speed or in power. The demonic beast puppet fighter of the 5th level is much stronger. I may not be able to defeat it even using sword soul and trying my best. Jian Wushuang thought. To pass the 4th level is enough. There is no need to pass more. Having decided, he retreated to the perimeter of the gladiator arena, looked up at the stands out of the restriction, back to where he entered and walked out of the gladiator arena. He didn't plan to use all his trump cards here. But the strength he had shown was shocking enough. Red Butterfly. In the stand, Emperor Fengxiao took a glance at the red-robed woman behind him. Divine Emperor. The red-robed woman said respectfully. Take this to him. Emperor Fengxiao gave the red-robed woman a jade slip. Taking it, the red-robed woman was confused. But after she recognized what it was, she was in great shock. Divine Emperor, this is, the red-robed woman's voice was trembling. She knew the value of the jade slip. It was a jade slip that lots of divine generals were eager to own. And it was also important for Emperor Fengxiao himself. How could Emperor Fengxiao give this as a present to Jian Wushuang? Just do as you are told. Emperor Fengxiao said. Yes. Dan Jiao took a deep breath and nodded heavily. Then she left. In the stand sat Emperor Fengxiao with the corners of his mouth curled up. After mastering that sword movement, my strength has improved to a new level. The jade slip was nothing compared with what I received because of him. Their eyes were full of curiosity. They had all fought with the demonic beasts puppet fighters in the gladiator arena. Some took a while and some were brief. But Jian Wushuang took the longest time, even longer than Jin Ling's. A moment later, the red-robed woman arrived at the open space. Now, I will announce the results. The red-robed woman took out a list and started to read. The first one, Heatsong, pass, 1st grade divine general. The second one, Luo Yi, pass, 1st grade divine general. The third one, 1st grade divine general. The fourth one, fail. The red-robed woman read everyone's name. More than 30 experts participated in the test. Almost all of them had reached 7 Cloud Realm, so most of them would pass it. Only 1 or 2 failed. Jin Ling, pass, 2nd grade divine general. The red-robed woman said. All people present looked towards the red-haired man, Jin Ling, but didn't feel surprised. Because it was only he that reached 8 Cloud Realm and he should be a 2nd grade divine general. Jin Ling himself also thought he deserved it. The next one, continued the red-robed woman. Finally, the red-robed woman read the last one's name, Jian Wushuang. The last one, Jian Wushuang, pass, 2nd grade divine general. The red-robed woman looked at Jian Wushuang after reading. All experts present looked towards Jian Wushuang, including Jin Ling. It was normal that Jin Ling became a 2nd grade divine general, because he was at 8 Cloud Realm. But Jian Wushuang. Chapter 517, A Gift from Emperor Fengxiao. Chapter 517, A Gift from Emperor Fengxiao. There is another 2nd grade divine general apart from me. Jin Ling glanced at Jian Wushuang. He said with a sneer, this must be because he just met the requirements by squeaking through the 3rd level. He was proud as a peacock. Although Jian Wushuang was appointed a 2nd grade divine general like him, Jin Ling still thought Jian Wushuang was weaker than him. After all, there were differences in strength though both were 2nd grade divine generals. But at the moment, the red-robed woman looked at Jian Wushuang and continued, Jian Wushuang, you performed well in the gladiator arena. Emperor Fengxiao praised you and decided to give you a present. After this announcement, she threw the jade slip from Emperor Fengxiao to Jian Wushuang. Catching the jade slip and holding it, Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. Emperor Fengxiao gave me a gift? Looking at the golden jade slip in his hand, he didn't find anything special except for its aura and the number 10 on it. The open space was in an uproar. Many experts present threw admiring glances at Jian Wushuang. Did Emperor Fengxiao praise Jian Wushuang and give him a gift? Usually, divine emperors of the Monster Exterminating League never praise an ordinary warrior. To receive a present is a rare honor. It means that Emperor Fengxiao thinks highly of him. If he keeps improving, it's highly possible that he can study under Emperor Fengxiao. People in the open space were freely discussing. No one noticed that at the perimeter of the open space, the red-haired young man, Jin Ling, was staring at the jade slip in Jian Wushuang's hand in shock. That's a pledge of the Earth Core Palace, a golden one. How could this be? Such a precious treasure is hard to obtain even if it were my father. How could Emperor Fengxiao give it to him? Others didn't know the jade slip's value, but Jin Ling did. That was why he was shocked. The jade slip is so valuable. But it seems that this young man is not aware of this. After looking at Jian Wushuang, Jin Ling narrowed his eyes and felt envious. Bastard! If he were not here, Emperor Fengxiao might give it to me. It's his fault. Hatred arose in Jin Ling but was carefully concealed. No one even noticed it. Alright, those who failed can leave now. Those who passed come to me and take your ID tokens, said the red-robed woman. Those who passed, including Jian Wushuang, went forward. A divine general token had a special aura. Those around could perceive it after the token was refined. Thus they would know the identity of the token's master. Jian Wushuang received a second-grade divine general token from the red-robed woman and made himself its master. All of you can leave now. The red-robed woman said and waved her hand. They all went to the hall of the Saint Castle. In the hall, Qinghua was waiting for him at the counter, holding a pot of wine and talking with the blue-haired beauty. Qinghua. Jian Wushuang went to him. Fellow Wushuang, how did you go? Qinghua looked at Jian Wushuang and asked, did you pass it? Yes. I'm a second-grade divine general now. Jian Wushuang said with a smile. A second-grade divine general? Usually only an 8-cloud realm expert would qualify, marveled Qinghua. Then he laughed and said, I knew you could pass the assessment. To be a divine general means that you have been admitted into the holy place. Wushuang, do you want to go to the holy place? The holy place? Jian Wushuang was intrigued. It was not the first time he heard about the holy place. The holy place of Monster Exterminating League was a cultivation sanctuary for humans on the monster continent. It contained many opportunities. Many divine generals, even divine emperors of Monster Exterminating League, cultivated in the holy place, which was also open to them. Of course, but not now. Having been in the monster continent for so long, it's my first time visiting the city. I want to have a look first. Jian Wushuang said. Okay, I'll go with you. Qinghua laughed. Then they walked outside of the Saint Castle. Both of them didn't notice that a red-haired man in a corner was gazing at Jian Wushuang carefully. After observing Jian Wushuang leaving the Saint Castle, Jin Ling pondered, then followed them. Heaven Wing City was bustling with many shops. A moment later, Jian Wushuang and Qinghua arrived at a big black pavilion. It's Heaven Wing Pavilion, the biggest market in Heaven Wing City for buying and selling. The purchasing price is 90% of the selling price. Selling to them might incur a little loss, but it is convenient. Qinghua said. Let's enter and have a look. Jian Wushuang stepped into the Heaven Wing Pavilion. Heaven Wing Pavilion was 3 stories and there were many treasures in each story. Entering the hall of the first floor, Jian Wushuang saw many treasures, but they were all common. Jian Wushuang was uninterested in them, but many warriors of the tribes were perusing the treasures. 2 lords, most of the treasures in the first floor are common grade. It's better for you to go to the 3rd floor if you want to buy something. An attendant walked to them and said. Jian Wushuang and Qing Hua looked at each other. Both of them had refined divine general tokens, and that special aura was easy to be perceived. Therefore, others could recognize them immediately. They didn't delay in the 1st floor anymore and walked up the stairs to the hall of the 3rd floor of Heaven Wing Pavilion. The number of treasures on the 3rd floor was less than on the 1st floor, but more valuable. Chapter 518, Blood Kylan Leather Armor. Chapter 518, Blood Kylan Leather Armor. Jian Wushuang wandered around the 3rd floor. Many treasures were present, but Jian Wushuang realized that nearly half of them were used to strengthen the body. Jian Wushuang even saw Purple Heaven Thunderbolt and 9th Heaven Thunderbolt. 2 valuable body-enhancing thunderbolts. Many of these treasures were new and unknown to Jian Wushuang. Luckily there was a brief introduction for each item on the shelf. Suddenly he was attracted by one. Blood Kylan Leather Armor. Jian Wushuang was reading the description on the shelf. Blood Kylan Leather Armor, refined from hides of Blood Kylan Demonic Beast of rank 8 and Corundum, has an amazing defense which reduces impact forces. Its price is 8 million raw gems. Jian Wushuang was interested. He had seen defensive armors, but none of them were convenient to wear. Besides, this had an amazing defense. Hides of Blood Kylan Demonic Beast at rank 8 and Corundum. Qing Hua was shocked when he read that. Rank 8 was equal to 8th Cloud Realm. Rank 8 monsters were peak monsters and only rank 9 monsters or monster kings rarer. Blood Kylan Demonic Beast was a terrifying species among rank 8 monsters. They were good at defense. Their hard hides were so tough that only divine emperors could destroy them. And Corundum was the hardest or Qing Hua knew. An armor made of hides of Blood Kylan Demonic Beast of rank 8 and Corundum, how could it not be strong in defense? My strong body plus the Blood Kylan leather armor would surely improve my defense capability by a lot. Jian Wushuang squinted and thought. The Blood Kylan leather armor was useful to him in strengthening his life-saving skill. 8 million raw gems, Jian Wushuang murmured. Just like in the Divine Land, people on the monster continent traded with raw gems. But an ordinary first-grade divine general on the monster continent could only have 2 million raw gems, far less than what a marquis in the Divine Land had. In the Divine Land, there were only a few marquis experts. Each one was a top expert with a huge territory, surely they had more gems. Even the weakest marquis in the Divine Land had more than 10 million raw gems. Jian Wushuang killed Marquis Nanyu and took his interspatial ring. So he was able to afford this. Fellow Wushuang, are you interested in the Blood Kylan leather armor? Qing Hua looked towards him. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. Keep its name in mind and pay for it at the counter downstairs. Qing Hua said. They looked around some more, then went downstairs after not finding anything else they wanted. At the counter of the hall on the 1st floor of Heaven Wing Pavilion. I want Blood Kylan leather armor, Jian Wushuang said. Wait a moment. A purple-haired elder behind the counter nodded. Soon he brought a blood-colored but thin armor to Jian Wushuang. Blood Kylan leather armor, 8 million raw gems. The purple-haired elder said. I don't have that many raw gems, may I pay for it with other treasures? Asked Jian Wushuang. Okay. The purple-haired elder nodded. Heaven Wing Pavilion purchases all treasures at 90% of their selling price. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Not caring too much, he was going to take out some to buy the Blood Kylan leather armor. Right at the moment. Wait. A voice echoed. Jian Wushuang turned and saw a red-haired man bearing a saber on his back walking towards him. It's him. Jian Wushuang recognized that it was Jin Ling, the other second-grade divine general from this assessment. Jin Ling stepped forward and said to the purple-haired elder at the counter, I'll take it. Then he took out an interspatial ring. Jian Wushuang's face fell. The purple-haired elder at the counter frowned and said, "Lord, I'm sorry, but the blood Kylan leather armor has already been bought by this divine general." "I know. I just want to buy it and give it to him," Jin Ling said with a smile and kindly looked at Jian Wushuang. "Give it to me." Jian Wushuang felt awkward. They didn't know each other well. It was just that both of them had passed the test and become second-grade divine generals. Why did Jin Ling want to give the blood Kylan leather armor to him as a gift? 8 million raw gems, only a few of the second-grade divine generals on the monster continent could afford this. Jin Ling, why? Jian Wushuang asked. Just to make friends. Jin Ling said. Oh? Jian Wushuang didn't believe this. Was he really so generous as to give him a blood Kylan leather armor worth 8 million raw gems as a friendship gift? After paying, Jin Ling passed it to Jian Wushuang. Thanks, Jian Wushuang thanked him and took it. Qinghua, let's go, Jian Wushuang said. Then they walked out of the Heaven Wing Pavilion. Wait, Jin Ling shouted. Jian Wushuang stopped and looked back to Jin Ling. Jin Ling, anything else? Jin Ling's mouth curled up. Why did he give it to him if he had no request? There is one thing. Brother Wushuang, I know Emperor Fengshao gave you a jade slip. Jin Ling said with a smile and called him brother. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. The thing is, the jade slip Emperor Fengshao gave you is important to me. Therefore, I hope you can sell it to me. I promise to give you a good price. Jin Ling said earnestly. Buy the jade slip from me. Jian Wushuang looked at Jin Ling with an interesting smile. Chapter 519, Falling Out with Jian Wushuang. Chapter 519, Falling Out with Jian Wushuang. He really came for the jade slip. Jian Wushuang sneered secretly. He had guessed that this was what Jin Ling had come for secretly. It's an honor that Emperor Fengshao gave the jade slip to me. How can I let him down by selling it? Jian Wushuang said. That's not true. Jin Ling said, to keep his kindness in mind is more important than the jade slip itself. After a pause, Jin Ling continued saying, Brother Wushuang, the jade slip is useless to you but useful to me, I hope you can do me a favor. He said this with sincerity. He thought that Jian Wushuang did not know the jade slip's value. Because he had learned in the Saint Castle that Jian Wushuang had come from an ordinary tribe and that there was nothing special about his background. He had also never been to the holy place before. It was highly possible that he knew nothing about the jade slip. Therefore, it was possible for him to trick Jian Wushuang out of the jade slip as long as Jian Wushuang did not know its value. Jin Ling was right. Jian Wushuang really knew nothing about the jade slip. He didn't even have the chance to ask Qinghua. However, there was one thing that Jin Ling didn't expect. Jian Wushuang was not stupid. He was not an ignorant bumpkin who was naive and unaware of things. Step by step, he had experienced many crises and troubles. How could he be foolish like Jin Ling? He must be kidding himself in expecting to get the jade slip from Jian Wushuang with just a few words. Jian Wushuang threw an interspatial ring at Jin Ling and said coldly, the treasures in the interspatial ring are worth 8 million raw gems. This should cover the cost of the blood Kylan leather armor. Stop trying to get the jade slip. Brother Wushuang. Jin Ling was anxious. Qinghua, let's go. Jian Wushuang did not spare a second glance for Jin Ling and walked off with Qinghua outside the Heaven Wing Pavilion. Gazing at Jian Wushuang's back, Jin Ling's hopeful, nervous and anxious eyes became cold with rising hatred and killing intent. Finally, as Jian Wushuang stepped out of the gate, Jin Ling's hatred exploded. Stop! Swish! Jin Ling rushed out like a flowing light. Right after Jian Wushuang and Qinghua stepped out of the Heaven Wing Pavilion and moved onto the street, they heard a sharp crackling sound from behind, then a distorted figure passed by and stopped in front of them. Seeing Jin Ling who stood in front of him with a distorted face, Jian Wushuang frowned. Is he so easy to irritate? Jian Wushuang sneered and said, Jin Ling, what do you want? What do I want? Jin Ling stared at Jian Wushuang like a poisonous snake. Jian Wushuang, you better sell it to me. Otherwise. Otherwise? What? Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold immediately. He had politely called him Brother Wushuang in the Heaven Wing Pavilion. But now, his face had changed so quickly. What? You want to force us? Qinghua sneered at Jin Ling too. Though he didn't know what Emperor Fengshao had given to Jian Wushuang, he knew what Jin Ling had done. Jin Ling didn't answer him. But his eyes were full of killing intent. Do you want to fight? Don't forget you are in Heaven Wing City. Jian Wushuang said coldly. Look, someone wants to fight here. Qinghua shouted. Hearing his words, many people on the street gathered around them, so did the guards of Heaven Wing City who arrived at the first time. 3 divine generals. The guards were also under the command of the Monster Exterminating League, and most of them were divine generals. Therefore they perceived the aura of their divine general tokens. Sirs, you should know the rules of Heaven Wing City. If you fight here, the leading guard frowned, gazing at the trio. Don't look at us, it's him. Qinghua pointed at Jin Ling and said coldly, we just walked out of the Heaven Wing Pavilion. This man wanted a treasure belonging to my friend and is forcing my friend to sell it to him. We refused, so he blocked our way. Oh? The guards looked towards Jin Ling. People around were all watching Jin Ling and whispering. Such bad behavior. Hee, the Heaven Wing City is one of the 8 cities, no one is allowed to act like that. What treasure is this? Even causing a divine general to act like that? Jin Ling, while being stared at, became sullen and his eyes were cold as ice. Looking at Jian Wushuang, he said, Jian Wushuang, there is one thing you should know. My name is Jin Ling. My father is Emperor Golden Snake. Hearing that, Jian Wushuang did nothing, but Qinghua suddenly narrowed his eyes. A noise arose from the crowd. Apparently they all knew Emperor Golden Snake. The faces of those guards also changed. Jian Wushuang, you should know what I mean. Jin Ling sneered. The people around looked queer. Threats. An unscrupulous but real threat. Many looked at Jian Wushuang with pity in their eyes. Emperor Golden Snake was one of the 108 divine emperors. How could any human without a special background dare to irritate him? Compromise with him. Sell it to him. Maybe you will suffer a loss, but it's better than offending Emperor Golden Snake. He is unlucky to have troubled Emperor Golden Snake's son. I heard that Emperor Golden Snake always defends his son. People around were discussing and many advised Jian Wushuang to compromise by selling the jade slip to Jin Ling. Fellow Wushuang, Qinghua frowned and looked at Jian Wushuang, but he didn't say any more. Jian Wushuang stood in the center of the crowd with hands behind his back. Jin Ling haughtily stared at Jian Wushuang. All of them were waiting for Jian Wushuang's answer. Suddenly Jian Wushuang raised his head and asked with confusion, I'm sorry, who is Emperor Golden Snake? I don't know him. Chapter 520, Earth Core Palace Token. Chapter 520, Earth Core Palace Token. Shock. The people on the street were stupefied and stared at Jian Wushuang. They had tried to predict Jian Wushuang's reaction and could understand both his decision and arguments. Because these two reactions were basic human instincts. However, they didn't expect that Jian Wushuang would say things like that. Who was Emperor Golden Snake? Never heard of him. Emperor Golden Snake, one of the 108 divine emperors, was very famous in the human race. It was unbelievable that Jian Wushuang had never heard of him. His reaction completely offended Emperor Golden Snake. But in fact, Jian Wushuang had indeed not heard of Emperor Golden Snake. He wasn't from the monster continent and had arrived here only a few days ago. It was normal that he did not know of Emperor Golden Snake. Good, great. Jin Ling was apoplectic with fury. He grinned at Jian Wushuang, stared at him and said, Jian Wushuang, I will remember you. The world is small and I will definitely meet you one day. He turned away and then left with a snort. After witnessing this, the bystanders stared at Jian Wushuang for a while and then left. Goodness, he said he had never heard of Emperor Golden Snake. This divine general really has guts. Yes, he does. However, he has really upset Emperor Golden Snake. I heard that Emperor Golden Snake is vengeful. I'm afraid this divine general is already in trouble. People sighed, even the sergeants in the guard army looked at Jian Wushuang with pity. After that, they all left. Well, you are really in trouble now. Qinghua frowned and then looked at Jian Wushuang, my friend, you just arrived in the monster continent so you haven't heard of the Emperor Golden Snake yet. But I know he is monstrous even among the 108 divine emperors. He is called Emperor Golden Snake because he is as malevolent as a viper. Besides, he is known as the one who always takes revenge for offenses. All the people in the Monster Exterminating League know that whoever offends Emperor Golden Snake would definitely suffer a lot. Really? Jian Wushuang smiled but didn't really care. Qinghua was shocked. He explained it so seriously but Jian Wushuang didn't seem to care about it. However, he didn't know that Jian Wushuang wasn't worried about Emperor Golden Snake at all. He has been cultivating till now and had already upset numerous people. Thousands of people even wanted to kill him, but he was still alive and well. Like in Divine Land, he became the enemy of the world and his opponents were all at the three ancestors level. He was able to handle them, not to mention Emperor Golden Snake who had just reached the Cloud Realm. My current strength might not be able to confront a divine emperor. However, it is also not easy for him to kill me if I try my best to defend. Jian Wushuang thought secretly. He was confident with his current strength. Okay, forget about Emperor Golden Snake. Let's talk about Emperor Fengxiao. Qinghua looked at him again. Jin Ling just mentioned that you received a jade slip as a gift from the Emperor Fengxiao, what happened to it? I don't really know, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. While I was performing the assessment of divine generals, Emperor Fengxiao was nearby. When I finished, someone gave me a jade slip and said it was a gift from the Emperor Fengxiao who thought I did a good job in the assessment. Oh, really? Qinghua was surprised and said, I would like to have a look at that jade slip. Without hesitating, Jian Wushuang showed him the golden jade slip. Qinghua was shocked when he saw it. Qinghua, do you know this jade slip? Jian Wushuang asked. Of course. This is the Earth Core Palace token. Besides, it is a golden one which means that whoever has it can enter the 4th level of the Earth Core Palace. The number in this token represents the number of days that the holder can stay in the palace. Qinghua stared at the number which showed 10. 10 days, I can stay in the 4th level of the Earth Core Palace for 10 days. Pissed. Qinghua could not help feeling very envious or even a bit jealous. He looked at Jian Wushuang and said, my friend, now I know why Jin Ling has been trying so hard to get this jade slip. Is this jade slip very precious? Jian Wushuang asked. Precious? More than that. Qinghua answered, my friend, I should say this token can easily make numerous divine generals in the Monster Exterminating League go crazy. Not to mention 10 days, even 1 day, many divine generals would fight to the death for it. This jade slip is very precious not only for the divine generals, but also for divine emperors. Like Jin Ling's father who is called Emperor Golden Snake, although he is one of 108 divine emperors, it would take him about 10 years to get 1 jade slip. It takes about 10 years for Emperor Golden Snake to get 1 jade slip? Jian Wushuang was shocked and asked, does it mean that this jade slip is also very important for the Emperor Fengxiao? Of course. Qinghua nodded and said, although the Emperor Fengxiao is a superior emperor and his strength is much stronger than the Emperor Golden Snake's, it's still not that easy for him to get 1 jade slip. To my great surprise, he gave it to you. It is like a meat pie falling from the sky. Jian Wushuang looked solemn. He was also confused why Emperor Fengxiao gave such a precious thing to him. However, Jian Wushuang didn't know that his sword skill had helped Emperor Fengxiao comprehend a sword movement which had bothered him for a long time. So compared to the jade slip, this sword movement was much more important. In Emperor Fengxiao's mind, even if he could get another 3 or 4 jade slips, he might still be unable to comprehend the sword movement. That was why the Emperor Fengxiao gave the jade slip to Jian Wushuang as a gift, since he was happy to understand the sword movement. Qinghua, just now you mentioned that the jade slip was related to the Earth Core Palace, so what is that? Jian Wushuang asked. Earth Core Palace is the biggest opportunity in the holy place. No point for you to ask more details because we are going to the holy place now, and later you can figure it out for yourself. You will realize the value of this jade slip, Qinghua answered. Great, then let's go to the holy place. Jian Wushuang smiled with high expectations. Chapter 521, Holy Place and Earth Core Palace. Chapter 521, Holy Place and Earth Core Palace. The Holy Place, the camp of humanity in the monster continent, was located in a vast plain. It was the real center of the Monster Exterminating League, and numerous experts were assembled here. Also, in the Holy Place, there were lots of cultivation resources which were not only helpful for divine generals but also for divine emperors. Among the humans in the monster continent, only those above divine general are qualified to enter the holy place. As for the ordinary ones in the cloud realm, they don't have the qualification. While wandering in the holy place, Qinghua explained this to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang looked around and noticed almost everyone nearby were divine generals. Even the guards who were in charge of guarding the holy place were all experts at the divine general level. In front of the holy place, there was a towering mountain. On the mountain, there were thousands of palaces and pavilions. There are numerous advanced experts of the Monster Exterminating League living in these palaces. Whoever is able to have a palace in the holy place, even at the foot of the mountain, is already a top divine general. Not to mention those who live on the mountainside, it is said that they are divine emperors, Qinghua said. Oh? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. My friend Wushuang, look at that, Qinghua pointed ahead. Jian Wushuang's sight followed Qinghua's finger. Soon he saw a huge pagoda which was made by black sand rising into view. With his unique eyesight, Jian Wushuang was able to observe that the pagoda was formed by sand. It was very weird that the black sand was still slowly flowing. But the pagoda was totally stable. That is the Monster Exterminating Pagoda, the treasure vault of the Monster Exterminating League. Qinghua pointed to the ancient black sand pagoda and said, inside it, you can find cultivation methods, manuals, body reshaping techniques, elixirs, magic weapons, and so on. It has everything you could wish for. Like the last few levels of the bone fusion technique, you also can get it from the Monster Exterminating Pagoda, but of course you need to earn it. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. There was no such thing as a free lunch. It was a rule that you had to earn whatever you wanted. Qinghua, what about the Earth Core Palace? Jian Wushuang asked. Before, Qinghua mentioned that the Earth Core Palace was the biggest opportunity in the holy place, so he was very curious and expectant about it. Don't worry, we are almost there, Qinghua said. Soon, Qinghua took Jian Wushuang to the center of the holy place. It was an open space and there was a huge altar on it. In the center of the altar, there was a channel which connected underground. Beside this, many guards were standing guard. At the bottom of the altar is the Earth Core Palace, Qinghua said, and then he walked towards the channel with Jian Wushuang. However, as soon as Jian Wushuang stepped on the altar, he noticed the peculiarity of the void. The origin energy here seems to be more powerful than at any other place. Jian Wushuang raised his brows. Have you already noticed? Qinghua looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile and said, it's just outside the Earth Core Palace. When you are inside it, you will realize the value of the Earth Core Palace. With a hint of expectation, Jian Wushuang arrived at the front of the channel to the Earth Core Palace. The guards outside the channel looked at Jian Wushuang and Qinghua, and then they let them enter. Following the channel, Jian Wushuang and Qinghua arrived at the first level of the Earth Core Palace. It was a huge underground palace. Inside, there were many secret chambers where numerous divine generals were cultivating and meditating. When Jian Wushuang got to the first level, he immediately noticed the origin energy becoming much more powerful. Just now, when he was outside the Earth Core Palace and near the altar, he had already noticed that the origin energy was a little bit stronger. But now, when they were on the first level, the origin energy was at least twice as strong as outside. It was certainly better to cultivate and meditate here since it was full of origin energy. Is this the magic of the Earth Core Palace? Jian Wushuang was a bit surprised. At this moment, Qinghua finally started to explain, the Earth Core Palace is the biggest opportunity and treasure of the holy place. Its origin energy is much stronger than outside because the supreme relic of humanity is at the bottom of the Earth Core Palace. Relic? Jian Wushuang was intrigued. The supreme relic of humanity in the monster continent? I also don't know what the relic is, but I know that the main reason that our human group, who has been threatened by the demonic beasts, are able to occupy this area is because of this relic. If we did not have it, we would already be wiped out by the demonic beasts, Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang was shocked. If it was as Qinghua said, then this relic was very important for humanity in the monster continent. Absolutely, it was the root of humanity and a treasure which could decide humanity's survival or extinction. The Earth Core Palace has this magic because of the relic, Qinghua said. There are 5 levels in the Earth Core Palace. The lower the level is, the stronger the origin energy is. We are just on the first level, but the origin energy is already 2 times stronger than outside. If you get into the second level, the origin energy will be 10 times stronger. And so on, the origin energy on the third, fourth level will be even stronger. Knowing this, Jian Wushuang stared open-eyed. The origin energy on the second level was 10 times stronger than the outside. Remember, the stronger the origin energy was, the easier one could meditate on the origin. 10 times stronger, what did this mean? Besides, it was only the second level. No wonder the Earth Core Palace is said to be the biggest opportunity in the holy place. It is much easier and faster to cultivate and meditate on origin here than outside, Jian Wushuang said. Yes, that's true, Qinghua nodded, but not everyone is able to cultivate here. A divine general of the Monster Exterminating League is able to get into and cultivate on the first level. However, talking about the second level, it requires certain qualification. What qualification? Jian Wushuang asked. Kill demonic beasts and obtain demonic beast monster cores. Qinghua solemnly said. Chapter 522, the fourth level. Chapter 522, the fourth level. Humans and demonic beasts are sworn enemies. The reason why we have the Monster Exterminating League is so that we can contend against them. Whoever wants to cultivate on the second level of the Earth Core Palace needs to make contributions. Killing demonic beasts and obtaining monster cores are an essential contribution. Any person who wants to stay on the second level of the Earth Core Palace for 1 day needs to obtain 1 monster core of a rank 6 demonic beast, Qinghua answered. Jian Wushuang's pupils slightly shrank. He could understand the requirements for entering Earth Core Palace based on killing the demonic beasts and obtaining monster cores. However, requiring a monster core of a rank 6 demonic beast to enter and stay on the second level for only 1 day sounded a bit too exaggerated. A rank 6 demonic beast was on par with a 6-cloud realm expert, superior lord. This meant that for a divine general in the Monster Exterminating League to stay on the second level for 1 day, he needed to kill 1 demonic beast which possessed a 6-cloud realm's battle strength. Actually, the Earth Core Palace is not the only place that requires monster cores. Several places in the holy place, including the Monster Exterminating Pagoda, also have the same requirement. There are hundreds of treasure in the Monster Exterminating Pagoda that we can't buy with raw gems but only with monster cores from demonic beasts. Qinghua continued. Although the requirement to enter into the second level of the Earth Core Palace is a bit too strict, divine generals in the Monster Exterminating League would still like to cultivate there for a while. As for the third level, its origin energy is much more powerful, so it requires more. Usually, only divine emperors are able to cultivate on the third level, but they also can't stay there for a long time. As for the fourth level, it requires even more than the previous levels. There are 108 divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League. Every few years, these divine emperors usually cultivate at the fourth level for a couple days. If any of them wants to stay there for 10 days, it will take them a few years or even about 10 years to kill enough demonic beasts. Hearing that, Jian Wushuang felt a bit overwhelmed. Even divine emperors can only cultivate on the fourth level for a couple of days every few years. Then what about the golden jade slip in his hand? My friend Wushuang, the token that the Emperor Fengxiao gave to you is permission to enter the fourth level of the Earth Core Palace. It allows you to stay there for 10 days, 10 days. Qinghua looked at Jian Wushuang with an envious sigh. What I can say is you are too lucky. Jian Wushuang couldn't help laughing. Although he knew that the jade slip was very precious, he didn't know how valuable it was. But now, he finally understood. Emperor Fengxiao indeed gave me a good gift, Jian Wushuang thought with delight. Soon Qinghua and Jian Wushuang arrived at the entry to the second level. My friend Wushang, I will be waiting for you here. 10 days are not that long, you need to take full advantage of it, Qinghua said. Of course, Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile and then entered into the entryway. The guards who were guarding there stopped him at the beginning, but when Jian Wushuang showed the jade slip to them, the guards looked surprised and allowed him to enter. Obviously, they were all surprised that Jian Wushuang had this jade slip. Followed the path, Jian Wushuang continuously advanced to the bottom of the Earth Core Palace and soon he arrived at the fourth level. As soon as he stepped onto the fourth level, he immediately sensed the powerful origin energy around him. Jian Wushuang had been cultivating till now, but he hadn't sensed such powerful origin energy. So powerful. The origin energy here is at least 100 times stronger than outside, maybe even more than that. Jian Wushuang was deeply shocked. It was a real cultivation sanctuary which was full of powerful origin energy. The fourth level was not as big as the first level, but there were still numerous secret chambers. Jian Wushuang randomly picked one and entered. Hunkering down in the secret chamber, Jian Wushuang closed his eyes and started to meditate. It was much faster and easier for him to comprehend origin inside the chamber than outside. He had been meditating on 999 slaughter techniques of the first level restriction of 6-story pagoda, but until now he could only comprehend about 600, and there were still another 300 slaughter techniques that he couldn't understand. But now, while he was meditating, he soon found out that he was able to overcome the difficulties which had bothered him before. It seemed he could work them out easily and simply. This feeling is really amazing. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, they sparkled with surprise and joy. In only a couple minutes, he already comprehended 10 techniques of the first level restriction. It would take him a few days or at least 10 days to achieve this if he was outside. I only have 10 days, but it is really a precious chance, so I can't waste a second. He took a deep breath and moved his mind. Soon the slaughter doppelganger popped up beside him. The original body and the slaughter doppelganger were both inside the secret chamber to help him meditate. As time flew by, Jian Wushuang sped up comprehending world origin and slaughter origin. In a flash, 10 days passed. In the secret chamber, Jian Wushuang's original body and his slaughter doppelganger were still sitting with legs crossed. At this moment, there was a new origin mark slowly condensing on his original body's arm. With the addition of the previous origin marks, there were already 8 world origin marks on it. Right, 8 marks. Lately, Jian Wushuang just had condensed the 6th world origin mark in the Wu Yan tribe. However, when he got to the 4th level of the Earth Core Palace, he only spent 10 days condensing the 7th and 8th world origin mark. Moreover, this was only the improvement of the world origin. It was really incredible. On the other side, Jian Wushuang's slaughter doppelganger was also sitting and 8 slaughter origin marks showed on his arm. The slaughter origin condensed the 8th origin mark as well. World origin, slaughter origin, both got 8 marks. Jian Wushuang's eyes shone with delight. Origin mark represented the comprehension of the origin. Since he still didn't break through the cloud realm, the brows of his origin mark metamorphosized the cloud and the power was still limited. But for Jian Wushuang, the usage of these 2 origins would be improved dramatically. His overall strength already had experienced a huge improvement. In the Saint realm, condensing the 8th origin mark is already incredible. Not sure if I will still have the chance to get the 9th mark. Jian Wushuang thought. Chapter 523, 3 Methods. Chapter 523, 3 Methods. The 9th origin mark was a legend not only in the Divine Land, but also in the Monster Continent, and even in the whole ancient world. In the ancient world, there were lots of 7 cloud realms and 8 cloud realms, but it was very rare to find a 9 cloud realm. Like the 72 Marquis in the Divine Land, including the 9 sovereigns, the highest level that they could comprehend was the 8 cloud realm of origin. So far, there was not even one 9 cloud realm expert among the humans in the Monster Continent. Although divine emperors already reached the requirement of the 9 cloud realm and their strength was much stronger than the 8 cloud realm divine generals, they still couldn't enter the realm. Even the temple masters, the peak expert above the cloud realm, could only break through the 8 cloud realm. It seemed the 9 cloud realm was practically extinct in the ancient world. But now, Jian Wushuang already condensed the 8th origin mark of the world origin and slaughter origin. If he tried hard to get the 9th origin mark and break through the cloud realm, then he would be a 9 cloud realm. 9 cloud realm, flying to the 9th heaven. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He had been in the Saint realm for a long time. Based on his realm, he was already beyond the Saint realm. As an ordinary Saint realm expert, he should have broken through the cloud realm after condensing 3 origin marks. But because Jian Wushuang cultivated the heavenly creation skill, it made him completely different from an ordinary warrior. That's why although he already had 8 origin marks, he was still in the Saint realm. All the movements of the heavenly creation skill were unbelievable and different. As an ordinary warrior, it was a step into the cloud realm after breaking through the Saint realm. But for Jian Wushuang, who was above the venerable master, it was flying to the 9th heaven. Flying to the 9th heaven had a significant meaning. Perhaps, I need to condense the 9th origin mark before I can break through. Jian Wushuang thought quietly. But that was only what he thought. He didn't really know the details. As he had stepped on the path of inverse cultivation, the future was already full of unknowns. Unfortunately, I can only stay here for 10 days. If I had more time, maybe I could condense the 9th origin mark. Jian Wushuang thought with regret. 10 days passed, so he had to leave the 4th level. When he arrived at the 1st level, he could sense the difference of the origin energy. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Compared to the 4th level, the 1st level is much weaker. Qinghua had been waiting for him on the 1st level. When he saw Jian Wushuang. "My friend Wushuang, how is the 4th level, any achievements?" Qinghua asked. "A lot, but sadly I only had 10 days, Jian Wushuang answered. 10 days already means a lot, you should be satisfied with it. For me, I could not dream of entering the 4th level. Even if you let me stay on the 3rd level for a couple days, I would already be laughing aloud as if my dreams had come true," Qinghua answered with a bit envy. Huh. Jian Wushuang couldn't help laughing. Indeed, he should be satisfied. After all, it was the 4th level, which was not easy even for divine emperors to access. He should thank Emperor Fengshao for giving him a chance to enter it. "Oh, Qinghua, before you mentioned that the requirement of going to the 2nd level of the Earth Core Palace or exchanging the treasure in the monster exterminating pagoda was monster cores of demonic beasts. However, where are the monster cores from, or where can we kill demonic beasts?" Jian Wushuang asked. "Roughly, there are 3 methods to get monster elixirs," Qinghua looked at Jian Wushuang and explained to him carefully. First, you can do simple tasks for the Monster Exterminating League, such as being a guard of the 8 cities in the holy place or sending messages to others. All these tasks give you monster cores as the payment. They are easy and not dangerous, but you won't get much. As for the second method, you can join the military. Pausing a couple seconds, Qinghua continued the conversation. There are 4 military camps in the Monster Exterminating League. These 4 separately guard the north, south, east and west sides of human territory. Apart from the human territory, the rest is occupied by demonic beasts. Those demonic beasts often attack our human territory, so the mission of these 4 military camps are to defend and even wipe out the demonic beasts. The scale of the attacks from the demonic beasts are both big and small. Usually there are some small attacks, but sometimes we face brutal ones. Every time, we humans try our best to fight against them. Many experts have died in this war, but of course they also have greater opportunity to obtain monster cores. So, the second method is full of danger but also easier to get monster cores. While talking to this point, Qinghua paused and looked at Jian Wushuang, and then he continued, "Before, I stayed in a military camp for a while and I only could get enough monster elixirs to exchange the bone fusion technique of the 5th and 6th level, but that's because my strength was weak. However, my friend Wushuang, you are a 2nd-grade divine general. If you could stay in a military camp like me for a few days, you would absolutely get more monster elixirs than me. So what about the third method?" Jian Wushuang asked. "The third way is to slaughter the demonic beasts in a territory which is already occupied by them," Qinghua answered. "But the territory is vast and there are thousands of demonic beasts in it. The ordinary divine generals will surely be killed if they get into the monster territory. Only those divine emperors and few divine generals whose strengths are on par with the divine emperors are brave enough to do that." Jian Wushuang nodded slightly in acknowledgement. In the monster continent, 90% of the territory were occupied by demonic beasts. Humanity was limited to only 10%. That meant the monster group was really strong, so the ones who went to the territory was like entering the tiger's cave. That would be super dangerous. If a person whose battle strength was not as strong as the divine emperors went to the demonic beast's territory alone, he would definitely be killed. "I've decided to go to the military camp," Jian Wushuang said. Qinghua smiled slightly. It seemed he already knew it. "If you want to join the military camp, you need to apply first and then the league will arrange for you. Follow me," Qinghua said. Soon, Jian Wushuang and Qinghua left the Earth Core Palace. Qinghua had stayed in a military camp for a while, so he knew how to apply for it. Soon, they both applied to join a military camp. 2 days later, the Monster Exterminating League offered a place for them. Jian Wushuang, the 2nd-grade divine general, will be in the 7th Army of the East Camp and be a leader of a 100-soldier squad. Qinghua, the 1st-grade divine general, will be in the 7th Army of the East Camp and be a leader of a 10-soldier squad. Chapter 524, East Camp. Chapter 524, East Camp. In the monster continent, there were the north, south, east and west borders in the human group's territory. Each border had 1 military camp, with the camps respectively named the north, south, east and west camps. These 4 camps were like huge stones that shielded the human group from harm. For a long time, numerous demonic beasts had tried to invade the human territory but had been defeated by warriors and experts from the 4 camps. The East Camp was one of the 4 camps. There were thousands of experts in the East Camp. Here, a 6-cloud realm, superior lord, was only an ordinary warrior. A divine general could be a leader of a 10-soldier squad, while only a 2nd-grade divine general was qualified to be in charge of a 100-soldier squad. 10 100-soldier squads formed one army, which was led by an advanced 2nd-grade divine general. Beyond that, there were the generals, divine emperors, and the temple masters who were at the top of the hierarchy. It was said that there were more than 3 temple masters and about 10 generals in the East Camp. Jian Wushuang and Qinghua were both assigned to be in the East Camp and in the same army. As Jian Wushuang was a 2nd-grade divine general, he was designated the leader of a 100-soldier squad. Qinghua was a first-grade divine general, so he led a 10-soldier squad. Qinghua's position was one level lower than Jian Wushuang's. At the present moment, both of them were in one of the camps. Fang Han, commander, I hope I can count on you. A red-haired man with a saber strapped to his back sat on a long narrow table holding a wine bowl. Opposite the red-haired man, a plump middle-aged man smiled and said, "Jin Ling brother, you're too humble. I don't think anyone in the East Camp would dare to provoke you. After all, your father is the Emperor Golden Snake and is one of the generals in our camp. Don't worry about that. From now on, as long as I get some good news in the 7th Army, I will share with you." "Thanks, Fang Han, commander. I would like to propose a toast to you," the red-haired man said with a smile. If Jian Wushuang had been present, he would have immediately recognized Jin Ling, with whom he had previously had conflicts within the Heaven Wing City. After Jin Ling became a divine general, he had applied from the Monster Exterminating League to join the military camp. Since his father was in the East Camp, he had been assigned to the same camp, became a leader of one 100-soldier squad in the 7th Army. The plump middle-aged man, Fang Han, was the commander of the 7th Army. Technically, he was Jin Ling's boss. However, since the Emperor Golden Snake was Jin Ling's father, Fang Han was very humble to him. In the camp, Jin Ling and Fang Han were enjoying their conversation while drinking. At this moment, a sergeant walked into the camp and said respectfully, "Commander, the leaders of a 100-soldier squad and a 10-soldier squad are here." "Who are they?" Fang Han asked. "The leader of the 10-soldier squad is called Qinghua. He stayed in the East Camp before, but was not in our army. As for the leader of the 100-soldier squad, his name is Jian Wushuang. He was only recently designated a 2nd-grade divine general," the sergeant answered. "Oh?" Fang Han raised his eyebrows. "Jian Wushuang?" Jin Ling's expression changed abruptly. His face filled with hatred as he mumbled to himself. "It's him. What's the matter, Jin Ling brother, do you know him?" Fang Han looked at Jin Ling. "He's been in my thoughts. It's such a coincidence that he has been assigned to the East Camp and also to the same army as me." Jin Ling's expression was glacial as he gave a forced smile. The smile was as sharp as a blade. "Jin Ling brother, it seems you have an axe to grind with Jian Wushuang?" Fang Han smiled slightly as he looked at the sergeant. "You can leave, but tell Jian Wushuang that I am busy now. Ask him to wait for me outside." "Yes," the sergeant departed to convey his order. Fang Han and Jin Ling were left alone in the camp again. "Fang Han, commander, about Jian Wushuang." "I might need your help," Jin Ling said. "Jin Ling brother, there's just us here. Please speak plainly." Fang Han squinted at Jin Ling. I would love him to die." Jin Ling answered with a cold voice. "Oh?" Fang Han raised his eyebrows, hesitated for a moment and said, "The sergeants in the human territory are already in danger. Any careless mistake will result in their deaths. It will be easy to get rid of Jian Wushuang. How about this, since he is in my army, I'll assign some dangerous and deadly tasks for him to handle. What do you think?" "No," Jin Ling shook his head. "Dangerous tasks are always accompanied by good rewards. It'd be nice if he is killed while carrying out the task. But if he isn't, he will benefit from the rewards. So, what is your plan?" Fang Han frowned and looked at him. Jian Wushuang is here is to kill the demonic beasts and get the monster cores, but I am not going to let it happen." "Fang Han, commander, don't we need someone to guard the Sky Solitude Mountains?" Jin Ling asked. "The Sky Solitude Mountains?" Fang Han narrowed his eyes. He knew what Jin Ling meant, so he smiled and said, "The Sky Solitude Mountains is behind the East Camp. The demonic beasts will need to get past the defense of the East Camp before they can reach the Sky Solitude Mountains. Usually, only monster spies are able to get there. Even if the monster spies get there, the Sky Solitude Mountains is vast. Besides, there is only a 100-soldier squad standing guard there, so it is hard to detect any spies. It's also a desolate landscape, so it'd be hard to get any monster cores there. Okay, then let's follow this plan. I would love Jian Wushuang to get not even one monster core while he is in the East Camp. Sure, Jin Ling sneered. Fong Han Commander, thanks for following the plan. I'm leaving now, Jin Ling said. No problem. Your enemy is my enemy, I know how to make him suffer, Fong Han smiled. Jin Ling nodded and then left the camp. Outside the camp, Jian Wushuang and Qinghua stood in silence as they waited. Fong Han Commander should be talking to someone, so let's wait for a while here. Qinghua said. Sure, Jian Wushuang nodded patiently. Soon, they saw a figure emerge from the camp. When they saw who that person was, their expressions both changed. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.